moderator, although we tried to get, there were two people we tried to reach out to moderate this topic, but because it is what it is, people are busy, schedules, etc., they were not able to take it up. But I am still happy to do it. Femicide. Oh, welcome, YouTube. I see we are live. Today we are talking about femicide. This week on Tuesday was World Femicide, or rather in Kenya, they were protesting about femicide. I think in the world, they were celebrating something else. Someone remind me what it was. But I remember there was a clash between the protesters and the police. People were saying that this is a direct indication of the attitude that the police have towards it. So because of that trending topic, even though femicide was already in the list, we thought we would bump it up to this week because it's more relevant now than in the future. And there was a lot of uproar on the group from some people who maybe are distrustful of feminists. Let me put it that way. They're very distrustful of feminists, and they opposed even the idea of femicide. So there was a lot of back and forth on our WhatsApp group regarding this topic. It is indeed a hot topic. And there are no clear-cut answers. You know, the way people are introducing themselves, and Steve said that it is a gray area. Indeed, to a certain extent, it can be. But I'm hoping that we can seek clarification today for those things that can be clarified. But for those that can't, so be it. As I did warn you, we will try and shorten our meeting today because we have to wake up early. Some of us organizers, we have to wake up early to go and shop for you guys so that you eat nicely during our end year party. Yes, keeping that in mind, I'm requesting El Maestro if you can post for me the questions. But if I can try and recall them myself, the questions that will guide our discussion include, obviously, the definition of femicide. And this one is so important because the controversy starts here on the definition. Because there are people who don't even understand what it means, okay? So we will spend time clarifying. Oh, thank you, El Maestro, for posting the questions. Let me read them out. Okay, yes, so definition number one. Number two, why femicide and not homicide? Do women want special treatment? We'll just dive into that controversy right away because there have been those people who distrust femicide activists and feminists. They distrust them, who feel like femicide does not deserve the attention it gets. Okay, so we will delve into that. Number three, what are the trends of femicide in Kenya? Especially some of the high-profile cases. Examples like the Rita Waini case or Starlet Wahu, the one who was Pastor Kanyari's sister. You know, she was killed by Matara, and people like Sharon Otieno, people like Mora and Tirop, the runners, Masikeino, Ivy Wangeshi. If some of you have had those cases, maybe we can look into them. Or if you haven't, I took a look at them. I can narrate them and ask you, what trends do you see in those cases? What are the commonalities? Okay, that's number three. Then number four is my phone keeps going black. When I go to the chat, it goes black. Can someone read number 4 for me and the other ones, please? Hello.
Number 1 is about definition.
No. Number 4. Number 4, 5, and 6. 4, 5, and 6.
Causes. Number 4 is causes. Number 5, victim blaming. Number 6, solution. Causes, victim blaming, and solution.
Okay, great. Victim blaming and solutions. Right. So without further ado, let's define femicide. Please raise your hands if you are willing to give it a stab. What have you had on femicide? Great. I see Morioki's hand is up. Go ahead, Morioki.
Thanks. Is it a murder of women?
You're asking a question, you're not defining.
Oh, okay, fine. Sorry. Okay.
You should make a statement, not ask a question.
Okay, the murder of women. I don't know if it's by only men, I'm also by women. Okay. The murder of women. But I don't know whether it's killed only by men or also killed by women. So then I'm confused. Is it only when you're killed by a man, it's a femicide? If a woman kills a woman, it's also femicide. I'm not sure about that.
Okay, that's Morioki's perspective. We'll clarify as we go along. Any other person who has a different definition? Please feel free to raise your hand. What have you had? Yes, I see El Maestro's hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, okay. I used to think it is another definition, but now when I looked at some of the dictionary definitions that people give online is the murder of women for being women or for their gender. Murder of a woman for because of her gender.
Aha. So El Maestro has added on to Morioki's definition by saying not only is it just murder, because Morioki was saying it's the murder of women, but El Maestro said it is the murder of women because of their gender. So it is a gender-related crime or a hate-related crime based on gender. That is El Maestro's take. Do we have somebody else on the definition before I give you mine? Anybody else on the definition? Welcome. I see Ndeve, I see NJ, I see Steady. They're all here. Karibuni sana to the meeting. It's good to see you. There have been some people who have been missing in action. Stephen, great. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a new terminology. So I even had to to check online on the definition. But something that stood out is just like El Maestro has said, the murdering of the female gender on account of them being female. And I also came across that it can be perpetrated by either men or women, but mostly or statistically speaking, it has been shown to be committed more by men than females. Yeah, that's all. Did you hear me? Dorcas, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I was trying. Oh, okay. I was trying to unmute. Yes, we did hear you indeed, Stephen. And I like what you have said on the fact that even women can commit femicide, but mostly it is men that perpetrate femicide. Any other person with the definition of femicide? Any other person? Before I give mine. Okay, I don't think I see another hand. So most of you have the hang of it, but I believe the bone of contention is, how do you decide that it is gender-based, that somebody is killed because of their gender? That is usually the rub right there. So I agree with Stephen's definition and El Maestro's. Morioki, your definition was incomplete. Just killing women is not sufficient for it to be femicide. It has to be motivated by gender. Okay? In fact, my dictionary says it's killing of women and girls on account of their gender, or intentional killing with a gender-related motive. You have to have a gender-related motive. It's not just killing women, because you could be a woman in a robbery. Somebody could be engaging in robbery with violence in a bank, then they start shooting people, and that person kills men and women. The women that die there would not be femicide, because it was not motivated by gender hate, by hate for their gender. It was not motivated by that. Or let's say there was a terrorist thing. There was a terrorist thing, and somebody threw a bomb at a building, and people died. The women that died there would not necessarily be femicide. They would not contribute towards femicide, because the killer was not motivated by hate against women. Now, I also learned from the United Nations, as well as other reputable bodies, that how we deduce the intention, the gender motivation, how we deduce gender motivation is through certain criteria. This criteria often alludes to someone's gender or somebody's sexuality. So they had a list, and they said that if the person experienced sexual violence before or after the killing, if there was sexual violence involved before or after the killing, and they are a female, because it's femicide, they are a female and there was sexual violence before or after, it is likely that it can be femicide. If the person is involved in sex work and then they were killed, it's also likely that they will qualify. Additionally, if they were trafficked for sexual slavery or sex work, and they were illegally exploited before being killed, that is also constitutive of femicide. And if the killer had a record of sexual, physical, and harassment, sexual violence or physical violence of the woman before killing her, then it becomes femicide. Additionally, if this person hates women, maybe they are a serial killer and they just hate women, and maybe they are going on a crusade, so to speak, to clean up society from these women who maybe they perceive as immoral, then that one obviously would be femicide. So that deduction of the hate crime, of the gender motivation, is where the rub is. And the UN has tried to help us to decipher it. Okay, but if somebody has that history of targeting women over and over again, and they are violent towards them, they're sexually violent towards them, that is likely femicide when they kill them. And usually this is an intimate partner. It could be your husband, your current husband, your ex-husband, your boyfriend, or your ex-boyfriend, or other family members. I see MJ's hand is up. Go ahead, MJ.
No, mine is more of a question. I agree with the definition. Femicide, as you guys have said, is the intentional killing of women for the very fact that they are women, not for other reason. So I'm just curious, what is the masculine name for femicide? Like when there's an intentional killing of men for the sake of being men, what is it called?
Okay, that is Maurice's question. What is the masculine version of femicide? Stephen, do you have an answer? Yes, Stephen, go ahead if you have an answer.
Oh, I just checked online and I saw that they are referring to it as androcide. Androcide. I don't know whether that's the correct term, but that is what I just found. I was actually, even when you are defining, you are giving the definition, I had the same question. The same question was going through my mind, and I actually thought it was Femicide. So I went online and Googled Femicide, but I think I got the answer androcide. So I think to answer Maurice, I think it's called androcide.
Okay, great. So, given that definition that we have just looked at, killing women because of their gender, and often this is deduced by the patterns of that person if they have been targeting women violently, sexually, prostitutes, former intimate partners, wives or girlfriends. Usually that falls in that particular category. So let's get into the meat of it, of the controversy around femicide and the pushback. Why femicide, not homicide? Do women want special treatment? That is the question, the million-dollar question that we need to answer. Why is it that they are bringing attention, these activists, why are they bringing attention to femicide when there's also homicide? And in fact, at this point, most anti-feminists usually say more men are killed from homicides than women. In fact, that's a fact. That's a fact, that there are more homicide deaths of men than women. So why are we concentrating on women alone? And why are we calling it femicide? Why can't we just call it homicide? So can somebody take a stab at that controversial question, please? In fact, one of us on the WhatsApp group was saying that. It's like, that's nonsense. Femicide is stupid. In fact, if you go to YouTube comments under Femicide Discussions here in Kenya, you'll see a lot of vitriol. A lot of vitriol from people. You're like, no, femicide is fake. It's made up. It's a narrative by these feminists. It's totally unnecessary. Oh, I see one hand is up, Morioki. Oh, and I see another one. Great, Morioki, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. So I don't know if it's Kenya only, but at a time there were women being killed in Kenya. There are so many murders of women in Kenya. So I think that's the reason it came up. It was too much. I think last year even, so this year in Airbnb, they're being killed. So I think that's the reason. Yeah, thank you.
Morioki has brought out that pattern. There was some sort of pattern, especially around 10 months ago. Yes, I see Adam's hand is up. Go ahead, Adams.
No, it's very interesting. It's very interesting how this conversation is going, because there's so much controversy on the issue of femicide. And I hope you guys are going to touch all of it accordingly. But regarding the question you had asked about the difference, I don't know, it's like, why femicide? Why not homicide? Right? So, of course, femicide, as you guys have said, means killing of a woman or a girl because she is a female, right? Which I found that definition still not, I don't know. Is it because someone can, I don't know. How can someone just kill someone because someone is a girl? It sounds like, I don't know. Is it a mental problem or what? Another thing, now, in terms of homicide, homicide is just unlawfully killing of any person. So in homicide, remember in homicide now there's no gender. There's no gender based, right? You find someone has been killed, a man has been killed somewhere, like now, like there's those people who have been found, I don't know, in a quarry somewhere. I don't know. So you find that there were so many genders kind of based, all right? So you find males and females, all right? So that is a homicide, all right? But when we come to femicide, it's just killing a woman or a girl because she is a female. Interesting. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we will tackle the reasons why people commit femicide. Causes. Under causes, that is subtopic number 4. We'll look at why would somebody do it? Why would somebody target someone because they're a woman? We'll get into that then. But thank you for bringing it out. Next is Ndebe.
Thanks, Dorcas. Hello, everybody. When I was looking for the femicide and homicide, first off the bat, I thought homo has always meant man. And even in French, homme is a man. So I thought that, well, that wouldn't fit if the death is the death of women. It will be too general. Because in this case, it is women that are unduly die and you can see, you have to classify it. And that's how we understand things. So for example, when there's somebody that is killing and doing a particular thing with the killing, they are called a serial killer. Why don't we just call them a murderer? Why don't we just call them a killer? We go and we say a serial killer because there is something particular about what they are doing. There's something, it's a killing, yes, but to handle it, we have to go a little bit deeper and connect it to something. Therefore, we connect them with another killing somewhere before. So they become a serial killer because they are killing after killing. So with this particular specific handle of femicide, we are putting it that way so that we can sort it.
Kindly, Shiro, please mute. We are getting feedback from you. Shiro Wainaina, please mute.
Hi, Shiro.
Please mute. Yes. She logged in and then she went and did other things. Am I an admin in the meeting? No. Yeah, I am. Let me mute her.
Bye, Shiro.
Hey. I'm unable to mute her. Oh my. Okay, I have. Go ahead now, Ndeve.
Okay. Yes. So for the solution to solve this crime, you're looking at a repetitive, something that is repeating itself. Therefore, you look at it and you say, this is not just a homicide. This is not a serial killing. This is a murder, but there is something that is repetitive about it. And therefore, it's about women being killed because they are probably, you started a fight and you are the weaker part of it, you get killed. Or you didn't even start a fight, you didn't even see it coming, but because you were the weaker person physically, you got the bad end of it. Or the person had already planned to do this thing to you and you didn't even know, and they can prepared to do this, or they ambush you, or they do this, but always it is a woman getting the bad end of the stick. Therefore, I think it is only fair to classify it so as to understand it. That's how we solve all the problems. We solve them by classifying it and then putting it under the microscope. Even the name femicide is very biological. Thank you.
Wow, well said, Ndeve. Please remember to lower your hand once you make a contribution. I don't see any other hand. Let me make my contribution on that question before we proceed to trends in Kenya. Why femicide and not homicide? I agree totally with what Ndeve just said, because femicide captures the nuance of that type of crime. And I would also like to tell those detractors that it's not a competition between men and women. We are just identifying the fact that women tend to be overrepresented when it comes to gender-based attacks or deaths. They tend to be overrepresented in that front. It's just a type of crime classification. Yeah. And it doesn't take away from other types of crimes that exist out there that lead to murder. It's like you going to a meeting for breast cancer researchers and telling them, why are you concentrating on breast cancer? Why can't you concentrate on prostate cancer or skin cancer? It's just a classification that we have picked. Yeah, it's not a competition. It's not a victim Olympics. It doesn't take away from any other crimes that are not gender related. But it is important to classify crimes based on certain patterns. If we can follow those patterns, then we can stop that particular crime from happening. Any positive change in society should be welcome. That's what I would say. Also, I would add that the aspect of men, I added that statistic that men actually happen to be greater victims of homicide than women. Like the quantity of men who die from homicide is greater than the quantity of men, than the quantity of women who die from homicide, or in that respect, femicide. However, the causes of homicide towards men are usually because of random factors as well as alcohol intoxication. So these are not, they're not hate-based crimes. It's random, it's tougher to find the pattern there. So what are these factors? Gang violence. You find that maybe there are rivalries between gangs, and one gang decides to take out the other. Often these gangs are dominated by men. Or you'll find that it's alcohol. I have a friend who is a public prosecutor in Bungoma, and he told me that 90%, close to 90% of the violent assault cases he tackles are linked to alcohol. These people were drunk in a bar. They started fighting. Somebody grabbed a bottle and threw it at the other person, and they assaulted them. Sometimes it culminates into death. So you see, that isn't, it isn't a pattern that there's one category targeting another because of a certain identity. It's alcohol. But of course, somebody can take up that cause if they feel so inclined. There's nothing to stop you from speaking against gang-related violence if it is what is causing male homicides and alcohol-related deaths. You can start campaigning against that. There's nothing wrong with it. But you see, it's more nuanced for men compared to the case for women. And then, generally speaking, murder is something that attracts attention from the public because murder is assumed to be preventable. The other things, when you die from an accident or it was a fight and then things got out of hand, or it was something amorphous that is almost impossible to avoid. But with murder, we feel this is something preventable. And then once it's motivated by hate towards a certain category, then you need to work towards that. You need to target that and speak out against it so that it can be reversed. But as I said, it's not a competition. You can go ahead and study the patterns of what is killing men, what is causing those homicides. Unfortunately, most of the time they're involved. They're involved in what leads to the death. But you can find out what those patterns are and start a cause. We shouldn't try and detract each other from improving society. Just the way I said, I can be researching about breast cancer, you can be researching about prostate cancer, and all of us are working towards the betterment of society. So I can be fighting against femicide, you can be fighting against gang-related homicides or whatever causes the death of men via homicide. You can start a cause there. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing affair. It's not a competition. Now, given that, let's proceed to the next question. The trends, recent cases that have been happening in the country? What is it that has caused all of this uproar? And recent is a relative term. We can go back even 5 years ago. What do you remember? What were some highlights in those cases? People like Rita Waeni, the Roysambu girl. What stood out from that case? What was a pattern that you observed in that case? What about the case of Starlet Wahu, the one who was Kanyari's sister? What happened that led to her death? What are some of the highlights you had? What are some common traits in these cases? Mercy K, the one that was related to William Kabogo. What about Sharon Otieno, the one that was related to Okoth Obado, and any other that stand out to you? What were some common features in them? And generally about femicide cases, what are some trends that you guys have had? Yes, I see Murioki's hand is up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Joker. I think it's wise to know no one deserves to be killed, but I think they should research on the reason. No one deserves to be murdered, but what's the reason that happens between the man and the woman? What's the reason? What triggers it? So thanks.
If I can bounce that question back to you, because Murioki likes just asking questions instead of answering them. If I can bounce that question, those names I've mentioned, does any of them stand out? Do you remember any case in the news? What was the story behind it? That killer that did it? Starlet Wahu, Sharon Otieno, Rita Waeni, the one from Roysambu, the student. What stood out?
Some appears like there's malice. Others could be love, something gone wrong in the relationship. There can be malice or something gone bad. A love relationship, a relationship going wrong.
Yes, indeed. There's that element. There's that love element or intimate partner dynamics. These people knew each other sexually, maritally, relationally, and then something went wrong. And they got killed. So yes, you're right. That is one trend that we observe. Adams was next. Go ahead, Adams.
Well, the current trends, especially on the previous murders that has happened in Kenya, you realize that, let me get an example of a case like that of Rita. I think this is now the best time to say things the way it is, because that young girl, I don't know how she met the Nigerians, the two Nigerians, okay? And then after that, I don't know, can't remember the story, but I'll check. Actually, it's said that these people have not even been there for long. It's just like, and the problem is one. And that's why even there's a time where Kenyans were now like saying, no, we're going to chase Nigerians out of Kenya, because they come with manipulative techniques where they lure young ladies. And the problem is also our ladies, all right? Quick life, quick soft life, and all that, right? You find a young girl who has just joined the university, is still first years. She doesn't even know where life is going to take her. She has that an idea behind her head that good life, I don't know, of rolling out with the fake accent of Nigerians, all right, moving around. That is what caused Rita's death. Rita's death was a quick life. She felt that. I mean, she fall in the trap of Nigerians because she believed Nigerians have money with their poor accents, right? And that's why later on, I think after 3 weeks, we can't know what really happened in that house, where some of her body parts were, I don't know, found, head missing, I don't know what. A ransom of around, I don't know, 500,000 was being asked. See such by the killers. So they were like demanding, like, I don't know, we've done this, we need. So they were like demanding back their money. All right. And that is the problem. And by that time I remember, there was a very heated debate. All right. On young ladies falling traps on foreigners. They're not just Nigerians also. We have even others, even the whites. All right. So there's a heated debate about how this can be handled, but I'm sure we're going to talk about it later on. Okay. Yeah. But for me, I feel like, I think I don't know, it's just lack of exposure to our young ladies, or I don't know what. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now, on that case of Rita Waeni, I am an ardent follower of a true crime series here in Kenya that is called a channel on YouTube called Silent Shadows. And they've done a really good expose of most of the major murder cases in Kenya. I remember listening to that one of Rita Waeni. For those who are wondering who this is, it was the girl that was killed in Roysambu. I think it was TRM Drive at an Airbnb. And the person that killed her was this light-skinned guy with a hat and glasses. He was trying to be incognito, but there were CCTV cameras that caught him. Rita met this stranger on Instagram. They had been chatting for a while. He warmed her up, so to speak, on Instagram, and then convinced her to meet at an Airbnb. Then when they met in the Airbnb, he dismembered her. He hacked her body and took away her head. So they found her body, but not her head. Her head was located later. And this individual tried to extort Rita's parents for a ransom, and the parents didn't have the money, or they didn't want to pay him or anything. I think they involved the police, and that's when he killed Rita. Now the Nigerians came in because I think there was an association with the weapon. But when the CCTV camera came out, those Nigerians looked nothing. The two of them looked nothing like the individual that was seen going into the Airbnb and leaving the Airbnb. He looked nothing like it. So I think that was our Kenyan police showing their incompetence, because the killer is still at large at the moment. And from that case, what stood out to me is that the girl was young, 21, she's in campus. The girl met somebody she didn't know. He was a stranger online from an online platform, from Instagram. And the guy dismembered her. He slashed her head. And also that case showed you that he tried to get some money from her parents. So that's what I can deduce from that case. But we'll talk about this issue of soft life. This issue of soft life, you're saying, going forward. Next was Steven, and then El Maestro.
Okay, thank you, Dorcas. Firstly, let me begin by saying I do not condone any kind of violence or murder, no matter the cause. or maybe no matter what motivates another person to kill somebody. That being said, I can say the trend or what stands out as common among all those cases that you've just mentioned, I would say it's the ladies were after having a good time with strangers, and the keyword is strangers. That's what I can say. The ladies were out; they were going out there or meeting these people whom they hardly know, and because of what, they just want to have a good time. And what motivates them? Some, I would say they were naive. Others, they were just taking risks that are not calculated. Yes, so I think that is what seems to be common among all of those cases, or most of those cases that we just mentioned. Thank you.
That is Stephen's deduction. What about you, El Maestro?
Question was the trend about these femicide cases. Not okay, is it the causes or the trend among?
No, we haven't gotten to the causes yet. That's the next subtopic. We are still looking at the patterns. What do they have in common? The cases we had, what did they have in common?
I think what they have in common, Moruki had already said the love triangle, things to do with love, but also I think poverty. Poverty is also one of the things. Okay, this high profile. Some of these high profile cases is not all of them about poverty. Like this sister of Kanyari, she had money. It's not that but now there's a trend about poverty, because when you see maybe a girl who she has finished high school, she wants to start her own life, but she has no money. She tries because of this poverty. She gets into trap of men who have malicious intentions, and they end up doing that. Men who have money but malicious intentions, and they end up taking away their lives. So I think also poverty can also be a trend in this femicide issue.
The aspect of a love triangle and poverty. Or money. Let's say money, because some of these people might not be poor per se, but they want money.
Yeah, let's say money. Yes, let's just say money.
Anthony N is asking what question we are answering. Kidogo El Maestro. Anthony, the question is, what are the trends and common features you have seen in some of those high profile cases in Kenya? That's the question we are answering, Anthony. Now, let me also respond to it as you start thinking about the causes. What causes these femicide cases? Now, I know sometimes high profile cases can become the poster child for a certain issue, yet they don't necessarily present majority of the cases. So those instances I have mentioned, Ivy Wangeshi, Rita Waeni, and Starlet Wahu, imagine they are not the majority of the cases. If I look at the statistics, and I visited a number of websites, a number of reputable websites for the statistics of femicide in Kenya, I found that one woman is killed every 24 hours. But as we said, the death of a woman, killing a woman, doesn't necessarily constitute femicide. unless it is motivated by hate towards women. And we deduce that through things like intimate partner violence or a history of sexual violence before or after the killing. Now, I found that we have 75% of all femicide cases, 75%, 3/4 of all femicide cases are done by people, are done at home and by people that the victim knows. So it's not these strangers that we are thinking Airbnb. Those ones are actually the exception. They are the minority of the cases. They just sparked a lot of media sensationalism, but they don't represent majority of the cases. 75% of women who are killed because of their gender are by their partners. It's their partners or their ex-partners or somebody who wanted them, but they refused them. So we have to keep that in mind. In fact, when they looked at the total number of people that killed women because of femicide, it was found that out of 500 cases, 241 were their husband. Their husband killed this victim. 130 of them, remember the number is 500, the 500 cases, 241 was the husband, 130 were the boyfriend, 99 were ex-boyfriends, 22 were friends, 19 were ex-husbands, and then the strangers were something like 11 people, 11 to 10. Yeah. So as you can see, majority of the cases are by people these women know. It's not those strangers, those strangers, those serial killers, those ones, they don't represent the majority of the cases. But with that said, we still have to look at the high profile cases. And what I noticed is in the case of someone like Ivy Wangeshi, I don't know if you guys I don't know if you guys know of that case. Ivy Wangeshi was the one that was a medical intern doctor studying in Moi University. She was killed by a friend called Natalie. So what happened is Natalie wanted Ivy from the time they were young. They went, I think, to the same primary school. He wanted Ivy, but Ivy wasn't that much into him, Ivy Wangeshi. She rejected him, but he kept insisting. He kept buying her gifts. He spent a lot of money on her. Okay, he spent a lot of money on her. In fact, there was a time he told Ivy Wangeshi's friend, after Ivy Wangeshi blocked him, that he had spent 200,000 on her, and so he deserves to get her. He deserves to spend the night with her, and because he saw her with another man in campus, he got very angry. He got frustrated, enraged. He reached out for an axe and he hacked Ivy Wangeshi to death in broad daylight at campus in Moi University. She was killed right there and then while everyone was watching, because Natalie felt entitled to Ivy Wangeshi because he had spent money on her. Look at the case of Sharon Otieno. Sharon Otieno also was pregnant by Okoth Obado. And of course, at the moment, Okoth Obado has not been convicted. But if you can add 2 and 2 together, that man was responsible. The thing is, she had demanded a house worth 5 million. She had tried to kind of extort Okoth Obado and told him, I will reveal to the public that you impregnated me if you don't buy me a house worth, I don't know whether it was 5 million or 25 million. Oh, I think it was 25 million. A house worth 25 million, and then sijui upkeep for how much? And I think Okoth Obado was not having any of that, and that's why he organized for her death. But she was raped violently before she was killed. That was Sharon Otieno. Then there was the case of the runner, the athlete who is running for Uganda, but she's actually Kenyan by origin, and her husband is also a Kenyan. He poured paraffin on her and doused her. Okay. He poured paraffin on her and doused her and burnt her alive. And it is purported that it could have been an issue to do with money. With money and him having control over it. Yet she's the superstar. She's the athlete who's making millions. It's her damn money. But this man felt entitled to it. Let me mention one last high-profile one of Starlet Wahu, Kanyari's sister. She was killed by John Matara. In fact, John Matara confessed that this is something he does. There were several other women that came out later who said they had been lured by John Matara. He had lured them through a dating site. Through a dating site, and met them at those Airbnbs, and he tried to extort money from them. In fact, he was successful. There was one particular one I watched, and he got, I think it was 50K from her M-Pesa. And I'm thinking, okay, people are walking around with money. Anyway, so he got her PIN, he got her M-Pesa, and he was threatening her with, I think, a machete or something. He was telling her, I can just slash you just right away. And then he even stabbed her. The lady showed us stab wounds on her body, but she was able to get away with it. So that lady came after she saw the Kanyari's case. Okay, she saw Kanyari's sister's case. Her name is Starlet Wahu. So after she saw that Starlet had been killed, she came forward and said that that's how she had met Matara, through a dating site. So Starlet Wahu also met Matara through a dating site, and they went to an Airbnb, and he killed her. Yeah, they had gone there for a good time, but then he ended up killing her. So those are some of the cases. There is that element of extortion. Some of them are using extortion. There's also that element of meeting in Airbnbs. But as I said, for most of the cases, it's relationships. Now, I'm seeing people commenting. My phone has problems. Says it could kusoma comments and run the discussion as well. So if you have something to say, maybe you disagree with my deduction, because I think somebody was saying that's not femicide, that's homicide. Please raise your hand and tell me why you think those don't qualify as femicide, because I'm not able to follow your charts. Simu yangu inani disappoint, but as let's proceed to causes. Why do you think femicide happens? Given this background, what are the causes of femicide? Yes, Morioki, go ahead.
I think, in fact, I seen a comment. Somebody commented about it appears these things are just relationships, not because she's a woman. It's just a relationship has gone wrong. So it's not because she's a woman. Just something went wrong in the relationship, and she was killed. So this thing of being a woman, it's not coming. At times, it's not. It's just a relationship gone wrong.
That's Morioki's take. Let's hear from, I don't know whether it was El Maestro or Adams who went first. El Maestro, let's hear from you, then Adams, then Azrael, then Stephen, in that order.
Let me answer Morioki. Morioki, if something goes wrong, let me ask you, in any marriage, if they disagree and they end up the disagreement turns physical, who is more likely to suffer the consequences? If a man and a woman disagree, though you said the disagreements, if they disagree and then the disagreement turns physical, who is more likely to suffer the consequences?
Reality. So even I asked at the beginning, I asked her, is it true that women are the weaker sex? Remember, that was my question at the beginning. Are women the weaker sex?
Now, okay, but now I'm asking you this. Who is more likely to suffer the consequences when husband and wife have disagreed and the disagreement turns physical? Who is more likely to suffer?
The woman.
Yeah, I think that answers your question.
Which question? Answers what? No. Answers what?
Let me go back to the causes. Okay, the causes are things to do with. I think I'll dwell much on things to do with money and things to do with money and can I say economy, or just things to do with money and also ego issues or what? Okay, the causes. First of all, the causes it's the first one is these disagreements in a marriage. Let's say marriage, because most of them are most of the femicide cases are committed by husbands and boyfriends. So the number one cause, marriage/relationship. That's the first cause, marriage/relationship. And these disagreements in marriage and relationship are usually because of money and which other money and cheating, money and cheating. So I think that is the number one cause, because you've seen about the ex, if someone has cheated on you and you leave them, but then you want to revenge, or a man has spent this a lot on a woman, and then this woman ends up leaving him, he decides to revenge. So marriage and relationship, disagreements in marriage/relationship is the number one cause of all this fracas.
Dorcas, just to El Maestro, I meant that it's not because she's a woman, it's just a bad relationship. Because even they kill me. There's a man who was killed in Kitale. Just recently, a man was killed by a woman. He was stabbed by his girlfriend. Not because he's a man. It's not because he's a man.
Yes, I get you, Muroki, but I told you who is more likely. Who is more likely to suffer when the disagreement turns physical? Who is more likely to suffer?
It's a woman.
Not 100%. It's not 100% that that it is the woman, but most likely it is the woman, because men physically are stronger than women.
So women are the weakest sex.
So I think even when the disagreement turns physical, it's always the men who, it's not okay, not always, it's more often than not, it's men who maybe make the disagreement turn physical because they know this is a woman, she cannot defeat me when it's about physicality.
Okay. I trust El Maestro has answered Morioki's question, but now Morioki is bringing in maybe an unrelated aspect. Are women the weaker sex? Maybe other people can answer that question as they respond. But Morioki, I think that is a vague term. When you say weaker, what parameters are you considering? You see, you can consider the physical aspect. Yes, I agree. In terms of physicality, on average, men are stronger than women. That's a fact. On average. There are some women who are stronger than some men. Yeah, you can see Morioki here is very slim. If there's this huge lady who comes by, she'll obviously be stronger than him. But on average, if you take all the women, get all their strength, and then measure the strength of all the men, and then find the average, you'll find that men have greater physical strength than women. But there are other parameters in life that matter other than the physical aspect. For instance, intellectually, it has been shown statistically there's no difference between men's and women's intellectual capabilities. For instance, in terms of relational abilities, women are stronger, I think. Women are more diplomatic and they are able to read people's emotions better in terms of communication. I think women are stronger there. They're not the weaker sex in that parameter. So I think it depends on which aspect you are talking about. You can't just generalize and say women are the weaker sex. You have to qualify it and say physically, yes, women indeed are weaker. But in other areas, yes,
physical, yeah.
I agree. Yeah, physically, women are weaker. That one, I don't dispute. But that does not mean they are inferior because they have many other strengths. They are stronger in other areas of life. So, yeah, that should not demean their value because of that component alone. But that is what is relevant to this discussion. The physical aspect is what is relevant to the femicide discussion. Anyway, I said next would be Adams, then Stephen, then Azrael, in that order.
All right. Now, the issue of strong, men are stronger than. Of course, we have women who beat men out here terribly, right? We have men who are beaten by women day in, day out here. Okay. So I don't know how that happens though. But to go back to the question, the causes, this being a very, the issue of femicide is it's a very new term that we can even see people are now taking opportunity of it, especially in Kenya where we have so much activism and opportunism, right? So when you look at the causes of this, being it a controversial term and also following the previous events, actually I had to ask ChatGPT, because for real I would not know what causes all this. All right. So I've just posed a very simple question to ChatGPT, and it's telling me about patriarchy, I don't know, and gender inequality. So it's saying that male dominance. So it's saying that society with patriarchal norms position men as superior and women as subordinate. So fostering a sense of entitlement over women's lives and bodies. But I find that answer of ChatGPT so biased. All right. Because, all right, a man feels entitled. But does that entitlement come with the urge to kill somebody, right? Of course, you can be entitled, you're a man, you're in your house and all that. But I can't find where the urge of killing someone coming from in terms of male dominance. You can dominate, but does this dominance come with killing, right? So there's a thin line there. It also gives point to like control and possessiveness. So it's saying perpetrators may kill women to assert control, especially in case where women assert independence or live abusive relationship. Again, these are biased, right? This is again another biased point, okay? Because asserting control, yes, all right. Let me assume then I have a girl, all right? So I want to assert control over, I want to control how she moves, right? I want to track her movements. I want to see what she sees on social medias and all that. But honestly, does that come, that dominance of asserting control, does it come also with the urge of killing somebody because of their gender? I don't find it, right? Also, this part of women assert independence in cases where women assert independence, right? I think these are things that are causing all these problems we see around. Because we have so many nowadays, we have so many so-called the societies or women groups that they call themselves, I don't know, independence women's and all that. They form WhatsApp groups to mimic around and make rumors all over, right? Advising other women and all that. You see, such kind of things might also be the causes of what people feel like it's like, because your woman joins a women's group called independence group. Of course, there we have different people who have been from previous relationship previous relationship which ended in other ways or in different ways, right? So you'll find people who are bitter. We have some who are just pushing with that anger and all that. So you as a woman also, you go try such kind of things to your man or inside your house, right? And that's where the problem might come to. Also, this live abusive relationship. Or of course, they say in Swahili, ukiachwa unaachika. I've never seen this obsessiveness of, I don't know, of your fellow human, right? Where you guys have ended a relationship, but you find either the man, and you see ChatGPT is also biased, because this swings on both sides. I've seen it on both sides. A man leaves a lady, right? But this lady keeps following and snitching on this man, right? This lady is the same lady who snitches on this man, but they had ended the relationship. At the same time, you find a man also, yeah, a lazy man. Let me just call him a lazy man. You also find a lazy man. They had ended their relationship, okay? But she still wants to know how her girlfriend or whoever she left, or the wife, or whoever, is going on, yeah? So they feel like, that person has moved on without me. You know, there's this kind of entitlement. This person has moved on without. And these such things are things that bring anger, all right? And you see, such kind of angers, I don't know, there's a reflection of it, how men always like, you know, maybe you've come from, you've married someone and you've come from them far. For example, these cases of where, I don't know, university students graduating, then I don't know, there was a man who had been paying fees, I don't know, from high school. See, so you feel like you've really invested in this person, but then you secure graduation, a different man appears, right? And even the lady introduces that different man. You've been paying fees here, thinking that, you know, you're making a foundation for a woman who, after finishing school, is going to come to you. Of course, there will be that kind of anger. But now I don't know where now the killing might come to. The urge of killing might come to this. Yeah. So ChatGPT gave a lot of, but I'm just giving those two, right? Yeah, it gives a lot of points.
Okay. Thank you, Adams, for consulting good old ChatGPT. Next is Steven.
Thank you, Dorcas. the more we delve into this topic of femicide, the more confused I become. And particularly because of the examples you just gave. And since I understand there are those among us who are not Kenyans and probably might not even have heard of those cases, let me just give a hypothetical example, and then you can tell me if that's femicide, yeah? So let's say my wife and I get into a heated argument while we are in the house. And this argument comes about because maybe I had given her some good amount of money, but she decided to go and use the money on another gentleman whom they apparently have a good time together, and I get wind of this. I get to know about it, and that angers me, and when I come to the house, we get into a heated argument because of the same. She slaps me, and the reason for her slapping me, maybe because she also thinks I'm not an angel, I'm not perfect. She starts bringing up my other flaws in the relationship. Maybe she mentions things of the past, like even you had a mistress some other day, I never brought it up. Why are you bringing this up now? And I never brought it up when I caught you maybe having a good time with another mistress. And so we get into a back and forth, we argue, and one thing leads to another. She slaps me, I hit her back, we get into a fight, and maybe I beat her to death. So in such an example, or in such a case, would you qualify that as femicide to begin with? Dorcas.
Yes.
In such a situation, would that be femicide?
Yes, to me it would be. I'll explain why, but I want to hear other people's. I don't want to preempt their responses. I want to hear their perspective, and then I'll explain why. To me, it does. Yeah. Azrael, you're next.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. So I'm sorry about that. I wasn't here earlier on when you began. So I wanted to make I want to ask for clarifications for what you mean by femicide and the question again, Dorcas. So please, if you can if you can give me the clarifications, I'll be very much appreciative.
Okay, we defined femicide as the intentional killing of women with a gender-related motivation. The intentional killing of women with a gender-related motivation. Now, or rather, personally, I'm the one who added this aspect because I got it from the United Nations website on femicide. How we deduce the gender-related motivation is through a history of sexual violence or intimate partner violence. So if this person, before they killed the woman, had sex with her, either before or after, or they had a history of having sex with these victims before they kill them, if that's their profile, or if the person is a sex worker, maybe they did not have sex with her at that moment, but she was a sex worker, or they were meeting with the intention of her having sex with this person, but he decided to kill her first. That qualifies as femicide. And then intimate partner violence, or having a history of harassment with the perpetrator. Maybe the perpetrator wanted you, but you refused. So they go after you and they kill you. That qualifies as femicide. So that angle, the UN emphasized this aspect of the sexual nature, a sexual dynamic involved between the perpetrator and the victim before she is killed by the perpetrator. That's the definition. Now the question is, what are the causes of femicide? That's the question we are answering. And then now, of course, you can answer Stephen's question if you had it as well.
Okay, all right. All right, I think I get it now. But I think that it's not really clear on that. For example, I think the example of French, but I think it was about a couple, right? Then the man gives the money to the wife spends the money on another man. They get into an argument, and then in the argument he kills her. So that constitutes femicide. Now, as you say, we don't know whether this man has a history, right, of interpartner relationship, kind of violence thing. It doesn't be, we don't know if he has a DV history, right? So let's say that this is an isolated situation, right? This is first, obviously, some kind of even his first kill ever, or his first interpartner relationship. In that sense, and going by your definition or the definition by the United Nations of what femicide is, I will not see what the man did as femicide. Going by the UN's definition of what femicide is supposed to look like. All right. So this will be tough one because like I understand most often in relationship, right? I want to say most of
Oh dear, Azrael, we are losing you, your internet. Just come again. Azrael, are you there? Come again. We lost you with that last sentence. Wow, it is very shaky. But continue talking. Maybe we can hear you. Just continue. Azrael? Okay. Maybe you can try again. Maybe you can log out and log back in to see if it is going to work. But we'll proceed to expert Stano. Go ahead, Stano. Stano, are you there?
For me, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
For me, I think there is a lot of reason. There is many reason that we may regard it as a feminist. First, we say about the women are weak or are not stronger than men. So when the two quarrel, we can only guess the side that will win. And because of anger or because of that hatiness, you may find hitting a woman to a point that maybe he die, or you are trying to revenge for whatever she have done to you. Even a woman can try to revenge, but sometimes become unable, and that is why we find many cases is the men killing the women. So I will also give the example with the families because it's where I'm specialized on, or I'm in marriage. You may find a wife, there is a small maybe mistake, or you call for a little thing, but it causes chaos. And there, in terms of quarreling, you find a wife saying, kill me now, kill me. If you are man, if you are man enough, kill me. You may also find the take a laptop or a phone and throw it to the to under the wall. Sometimes if you have a car, you find a side mirror is out. You break the side mirror. So you end up trying to either to run from her because you are trying to avoid the chaos. And sometimes you may find your anger go to an extent. You hit her by mistake, you find there is a problem. So there is many things that can cause family problem. Yeah. So for me, about the feminist, it's only that people are coming without it feminist
You,
because of the weakness. Yeah.
Expert Sano, you mean femicide, not feminist. Femicide.
Yeah, feminicide. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's because of those problems. Because women are always weak. So when they want to revenge, maybe 90% they are unable to fulfill their purpose. But for men, when they want to revenge, they can be able, maybe 90% they can be able to fulfill their wishes. That is why we find it's only the women's side are in a bad situation or in a weak side. So that is my intake.
Aha. Stano has spoken about the physical, quote unquote, advantage that men have, which makes women susceptible to being killed in the event of a physical altercation. Azrael is back. Let's see if your audio is okay now.
Yeah, I'm back. And surprising enough, I could actually hear you, but you're not hearing me back. So I had to go offline and come back. So am I audible now? Again.
Yes, you're audible now.
All right, we thank God. Anyway, as I was saying earlier on, with you gave the UN's definition of what femicide is supposed to look like, and per the example or the scenario that Stephen painted, right? We don't know if this guy has a DV history. We don't know if he has a interpartnership kind of violence history, right? So this case of him killing his wife over this kind of affair thing, okay, I will not necessarily call that femicide, right? Because we don't know, we don't know his dating history. Right? So let's say we are taking this as an isolated event, right? His first time getting into an altercation with his wife, and then ends up killing her, right? So with that, I think I've answered, at least I think I have answered Stephen's inquiry in that specific scenario. And then I also addressed what was it Adams who spoke before me, or was it Maestro? Or the one who spoke before me, right? Hit the nail on the head. I don't think most men who commit femicide do it because they're actually intending to kill the lady. Most of the time, it is simply a physical altercation. And with the man having a physical advantage over the woman, he delivers a blow, or maybe he inputs a force which is probably overcalculated, and then ends up killing the lady out of it. Right. So I think there's also that aspect of the physical advantage part, whereby see, this why mostly I we've been told, we've been told growing up as children not to hit women. That's maybe because the women are weaker. But when I was growing up, my father told me, right, that I should be careful not to lay a hand on a woman. That's maybe because women are weaker and they need to be treated with this kind of iron glass or some kind of a glass glove, but simply because I'm a man and I don't know the level of strength that I have, right? So I don't necessarily always have control over the kind of force that I may put into my blows if I hit somebody. So touching a woman who is physically weaker than me, let's say I might overextend myself and without meaning to cause damage that I'll not be able to get away from. Right. So with the whole femicide situation, I'm not really sure about how I should. But I've seen many women also harm a man, particularly in relationship. And since most often than not is by poison. I think last week I heard something on the radio of a woman who had poisoned his husband. Oh, he poisoned her husband because she caught him cheating. Right. So she caught him cheating, then by poison. It's not that weaker than men, right? They cannot really express their displeasure or they say their dissatisfaction in the relationship in the physical altercation. So they also find some other means of doing it. Either slander or poison or whatever means that they can get their hands on. Although the homicide in relationship more tend to skew towards men being the aggressor and being the victimizer most often than not. Right? Because men are really stronger, and when they get to altercations in a physical relationship, they are the ones who tends to do the killing more because of their physical advantage. Now I don't know. I don't know whether this one is mostly because the woman is, let's say, a woman. Because when I hear the term femicide without understanding or whatever the UN definition, because the one, right? So it's a really misleading terminology over there. And I think better if you all get acquainted ourselves with what's the actual definition, the definition is, rather than what the word in itself seems to intone. All right. Was there any other question that I had missed to answer, Dorcas?
Have you spoken about the causes?
The causes. I think that it's mostly about I think is all right. Okay, so I think I mentioned one of the causes being the physical advantage that men have over women. That's one cause. I said I don't think men in general have it in their intention to kill a woman when they get into a physical altercation. They may be trying to hurt the woman but not kill the woman, right? But because they do not calculate their strength well, or they don't have a very good grasp of how strong they are, they tend to kill the woman by mistake. I'm not saying that they are. Yes, I think this thing that Adams mentioned that I think I got a bit of is that he hits the lady by mistake. I don't think any man hits a woman by mistake. I think that they deliberately hit the woman in order to cause the woman pain. But what they don't mean to cause, most often than not, is the death or a homicide situation. Right. So that's one cause. A man being physically stronger than the woman and not being able to calculate his strength well when in a physical altercation, therefore causing the woman to die. Right. Then another one is what leads to the physical altercation in the first place. That would be our culture. The culture which says that a man has a right over a woman. Obviously, we are shifting towards more postmodernism type of culture, whereby like you can't really put your hands on a woman just because you think that you have a power over her or whatever, right? But in our traditional, we are in Africa, right? No matter how modern we are now, there's so this traditional sense of a man over a woman, right? So this kind of this tradition of this African culture of us plays this kind of idea in most men's mind, right? That basically props up their ego that they are in a way better than a woman, so to speak, right? And when there's any kind of a disagreement somewhere, right? Men being men who want to express that disagreement in a physical way, ergo, hits, punches, kicks, whatsoever, which would then also lead to the death of the lady, possibly. Right. So there's a physical advantage. Then there's a cultural propping of a man's ego over that of a woman, making him feel as if he has a certain type of a superior rights or superiority over the lady. There's a reality that we have in our African setting, and even the Western world to also have that kind of thing. So it's a culture plus our physicality, it's nature and nurture, basically. I think I've answered the question, at least. I think I have.
Yes, you have.
Was that all the questions? Right. Thank you.
Yes. Great. So he talked about culture and the physical differences between men and women. Right. Next is Ndeve.
Thanks, Dorcas. So the physical. So let's come to the physical. Somebody had said women weaker sex. I don't think so, and I'm going to tell you why. The women who resort to killing their spouses, and they are there, they know they do not have the advantage of strength. So the kind of ambush that they can do, for example, the way the man just take you, strangle you or whatever, that ambush is out of the question, because that kind of ground, she's not going to win that kind of ground. And that is the people, the place where, for example, Azrael used poison. Women do use poison a lot. And those are methods that require planning. They require the person having to get away with it, because you are planning this thing. You plan on getting away with it. While the man that strangles the woman on the spur of the moment has not planned how to get away with it. But that's why I was telling Muriuki, don't go counting on women being the weaker sex, because in fact, if a woman sets out to win your heart, you have no chance. So forget about keeping on calling us the weaker sex. That's a very, it's misleading. Don't think like that. So when women set out to do this thing, if you watch crime documentaries, you are going to find that it is wicked and it's evil how they go about it. They will be making you your favorite food and putting stuff in it. So no, it is because the women, for women, it's a meditated thing. For you guys, it is just power of the moment. You're not even thinking about it. You're not thinking how you're going to get away with it. You start cleaning up afterwards and it is too late. But the woman is planning on it. She's even planning on getting away with it. So no, weakness is not part of it. And the reason we get overpowered is just because of our weakness. That is it. Otherwise, if the field is leveled differently, you're not gonna get, I'm gonna feed you whatever it is I'm gonna feed you. You're never gonna murder me. And the reasons. So the reasons this is done, there is the revenge, and there is also the if I can't have you, nobody will have you. That kind of thing. There is what you feel that the woman has done against you and what you are entitled to, and the ego, of course. Yeah, so the reasons can be multiple, and there are also people who are really not operating on a full, on a full mind. Therefore, they are not able to think that, hey, you know what? She wants to go. Let her go. I'll have Jane instead. Go away. I will have Jane or whatever, and Mary, and they are all ever Jennifer. So there is, and even women who murder their husbands, they are also not thinking that, there's Gerard and there's John and there's Peter. Yeah, we could be blinded by a lot of emotion in a very short moment and do some very dangerous things. Thank you.
Yes, women do kill, as Dave has stated. Azrael, you raised your hand again. I don't know if it is to comment about something Dave said or.
Yeah. I just want to make a comment on what David said. And it really has nothing to do, but I just want to say this in the you women really scare me sometimes. You scare me sometimes a lot. And that's why I'm really conscious when I'm around the woman because of these kind of things. Because as you said, physically you are weaker than they are weaker than us. So if you are going to do something, let's say to express this displeasure, you're going to find other ways to do it, i.e., poison, and that scares me a lot. You ladies, basically, you are demons even that, because the way a lady will actually, because you have to plan. It is really premeditated. While a man may act on the spur of the woman or of the moments, like simply out of nowhere or basically right there in the moment, the lady will have to plan and go about step 1, step 2, step 3, and that scares me a lot. You ladies, they're really dangerous creatures, so serpents, basically.
Yes. Now, let me also respond to that question on causes, and then to Stephen's hypothetical situation. And we can also be thinking about the next question, which is victim blaming, because this is very common in femicide cases. Let me start with Stephen's hypothetical. He gave the example of a couple that get into a fight. This is the first fight that they've ever gotten into. Okay, he didn't say that. He just gave that scenario. It could be one of other fights, who knows? Or it could be the first time, doesn't matter. And it culminates in the death of the woman. So, according to that UN criteria, I've checked again, even intimate partner violence is involved. Even if it is a first time basis, it counts. It counts. If it leads to the death of the woman, it counts as femicide. And why is the UN going for this approach? I'm trying to understand them, because the reason why it outlined that criteria is so that it can try and decipher what is gender motivated murder. Because as we defined femicide, it is the murder of women with a gender related motivation. Yeah. So if we narrow down the definition of femicide to just a hate crime, then the only cases that would qualify as femicide would be serial killers who specifically profile women. You know, like the one in the 1930s, I think it was in the UK, who used to, in the streets of London, he used to target prostitutes, obviously female prostitutes. Prostitution is mostly female dominated because men are the ones who tend to buy sex. Women, we are the ones who get sex. It's very rare for women to buy sex, but men tend to buy sex. So prostitution is largely an industry that services men, and it is largely by women. So there was this serial killer who used to target female prostitutes because he
that
felt
was Jack the Ripper. That was Jack the Ripper.
Go. Asante, thank you. Yes, Jack the Ripper. So he felt that they were immoral, you know, they were the scum of the earth, and he was doing a service to humanity by killing them. So if we went strictly by hate crime, then that would be the only type of murder that qualifies as femicide. But I think it would be unfair because there's a pattern still of gender motivated killings. And that's when now we consider other aspects, such as having a history of sexual violence with the person. that incorporates either sexual violence with the person or with other individuals in the past. This person has a sexual history, or if the person is a sex worker, or if the person is an intimate partner. Now, that hypothetical that Stephen gave was between intimate partners. So the question you must ask yourself is, would this person behave in the same way if this partner was not a woman, or they did not have the qualities, especially the physical strength that women have? And the answer would be, yes, he would behave differently. So we can say it was still gender motivated. If it is any intimate partner violence that occurs, it's still gender motivated because the person is assuming she's a woman, she's weaker, I can subdue her. And in the process, even if sometimes your intention is not to kill the person, you can end up killing the person if you are violent towards her. In most other homicide cases out there, if you listen to their stories, they never really intended to kill the person. They were just trying to subdue them. They were trying to exert power over them or beat them up, teach them a lesson, etc. But it went too far and they killed the person. It still qualifies as murder. So that's what I would say to Stephen. Intimate partner violence is another criteria that is considered, even if it was the first time. Often it occurs because the man has that mentality that he's stronger than the woman. Now, I also had to comment on the aspect of women who kill, because we're not trying to say that women are angels. There are female murderers out there. Miss Langata here in Kenya, she's a very gorgeous woman who stabbed her boyfriend, sijui 21 times. She stabbed him. I think she waited for a time when he was not aware, he was not, standing or whatever, and she attacked him at that level and she killed him mercilessly, gruesomely. She got a death sentence, but it was later changed to a life sentence. So we do have women that kill. However, I keep saying that we go with commonalities. What is the general pattern? What is the general pattern? How is the graph going? For the most part, if it is if it is a murder, it is men that commit the murder. If it is intimate partner violence, if it is that sexual history, a history of sexual violence and physical violence, for the most part, it is skewed towards men. That is what I had to say on that. Lastly, on causes, most of you have mentioned some of them. I think I have to talk about the issue of mental health. I think there are some individuals who are dealing with their own ish and they vent it out on women. Sometimes it could be their intimate partners, or it could be strangers or whoever. But if you have unaddressed mental health issues, then that is likely to cause problems. I think there's also the attitude that society has towards sex work and prostitutes. I think they assume that prostitutes are dispensable, so we can get rid of them and it won't even matter. And by sex work, you don't necessarily have to be a prostitute in the conventional definition. You could be engaging in a transactional sexual arrangement for the day. Maybe you have a job, maybe you're a socialite or whatever, but at that moment, you are having sex for money. And some of these killers feel like they can do anything to you, right? And they count on the fact that society also thinks that sex work is derogatory. It's low value, or it's immoral in some way. So they count on that negative attitude. I also think femicide is common because of a history of abuse. If you have been abused constantly by your husband, it's just a matter of time before he kills you. I would actually urge women who are in abusive, physically abusive relationships to leave, because the next time he might go too far and end your life. Lastly, I think there's also the aspect of men feeling very emasculated by women who are powerful, women who are making it out there in the world, and they're feeling like there's a lot of pressure that is placed on them to still fulfill the same gender roles that we used to have when men had all the economic power, all the economic control. So some of them now start to feel entitled. I remember I saw this TikTok video which said, where there was a man who was saying, "We will kill you, you women. We will kill you. How can I buy you a pizza for 3,000 shillings and then you don't go home with me? Eh? We will kill you if you go around behaving that way." So there's that disconnect between the role that a man is supposed to play vis-a-vis the role that a woman is supposed to play. There's that aspect of the entitlement they have towards women's bodies. And there's also the aspect of women using men for their money. That creates these unfulfilled promises that makes them frustrated and angry, and eventually they end up killing those women. That's how I would explain it, causes. I see Anthony M's hand is up. Go ahead, Anthony.
For my side, I was also thinking about the issue of hijab in the Muslim community. We have had women who have been killed because of that. The other issue is about the issue of Qatar, the house ladies who are going there to seek job, and we have had very many being killed. Can we consider that as an homicide or a femicide? Yeah, that was my thinking outside what we have been discussing.
Wow, I think that is a very interesting angle. If somebody can answer him, the women that go to Qatar, to Saudi, and they're killed by their employers, they're usually hired as domestic workers, and their employers mistreat them. Eventually, they end up killing them. Can that be regarded as femicide? That's a question Anthony has posed to us. I also have to add witch hunting, being accused of being a witch and being killed for it. That is also falling under femicide. Oh yeah, he's mentioned hijab, right?
Yeah.
The hijab. If you don't wear the hijab, they could kill you. It's honor killing. Yeah. So he's asked whether that is femicide. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Honor killings constitute another aspect of femicide. But let's proceed to the next question, which is victim blaming. When somebody like Rita Waeni, who met this guy from Instagram, and then she went to an Airbnb and she was killed, I read the comments and they were filled with vitriol. People were blaming Rita Waeni for getting killed. right? And many of the other examples I gave, those high-profile cases, people were blaming those victims for getting killed. What do we think about this phenomenon of victim blaming as it relates to femicide? Great, I see Adam's hand is up. Then after Adams, we'll have Morioki.
Well, let me give my last remarks as I go. Now, of course, there was a very serious heat-up debate on who blames who, especially when Rita Waini died. Even this young girl who was related to this fake pastor. Okay. Now, when you want to solve a situation, the urge of blaming, it never helps so much. But what you need to do is always to say things the way they are. Okay? You don't just blame. Don't just blame. Don't say, oh, Nigerians are bad. Oh, yeah, maybe they might be bad, right? Or maybe Kenyan ladies are what? I don't know. There are so many terms they use to call Kenyan women or ladies. Okay. So in the case of Rita Waini, people were blaming her because she met somebody on Instagram. Not that long. All right. And within, I don't know, they were already on an Airbnb. Jesus Christ. You know, I remember a long time ago when we used to seduce girls on Facebook using those small phones. Seducing a lady would even take you almost 6 months, even 7 months. You're still trying to throw your miss. All right. But now you see in the digital age now where we are now, because of these smartphones we have, right? You meet somebody online on Instagram. Within 2 weeks, you guys are already planning how to meet and to make it worse. I don't know. You know, that story, of course, the media will not tell you everything. All those who knows will not tell you everything. But I don't know if the first meeting they did was the first meetup or they have been meeting severally. However, if that was the first meetup, then I would blame later. Honestly, I'm going to blame her. Or me as an investigator, assume I'm an investigator there, then I'm going to blame that young lady. Okay? Because part of, and those are things we lack even in our education system. Awareness. Okay? Meeting strangers. It is always advised that when you're going to meet somebody meet them in a public place. It is advised everywhere in the world. Okay? But you see, these young ladies, I don't know, with some fancy Airbnbs in Kilimani, in Lavington, and in Kileleshwa. Yeah. So a killer comes, or I don't know, I would call it, someone comes, boards that house for 5 days, lures this young girl. And because our Kenyan ladies, they love this fancy life and soft lives and all that. Money thing, especially most of these cases, they're all money related. From Sharon to who, money related. It's always just money. I don't know if there's any unique case where the money is not involved. I don't know if there's any anyway. Okay. So because of our young ladies, Kenyan ladies with such kind of life, you tend to put yourself in a situation that you can't move out of it. Okay. So in the case of Waini, I personally I would really blame her, because the first rule is if you're going to meet a stranger, meet them in a public place, right? And not I also meet strangers, but I don't meet them in public places. Right? It just depends, because now when it comes to especially Instagram, it's very easy to lure. Actually, such social media platforms are very, very easy to lure women, ladies. It's very, very easy, especially if you have these small monies. Okay. So my way forward to this is just that let's make an awareness, even when we have our younger sisters and everyone, that meeting strangers is a no. Be on the road, beware. All right. Because we have people, we are in this world where there's so much things that are happening. Like now, where some body parts I don't know, head is not the head, is somewhere else. Now people are calling it a ritualist. Okay. And there are so many, but there were so many assumptions that were made out of that case. Yeah. So personally, the blame games will always go to any person who is meeting a stranger. This will be different with the case of now. Look, even if you look at also the case of Matara, I don't know how long she had been with that girl, because the other ladies also are coming out, which I cannot sustain their claims also, because as usual in Kenya we have opportunists, right? Cannot sustain such. So the point is, we have to live within our means, because all these cases have been money related. I've not seen a special case where money is not related, right? I've not seen any special cases where the money is not related. And all this is always caused by quick life and all that. Yeah.
Aha! Adams, we are talking about victim blaming, and here he is blaming the victim head on. Yes, he's one of those people. I want to hear what others have to say about Adam's comments before I give my take on it. But he's clearly blaming the victim, and he thinks their greed, their wanting of social soft life, and their gullibility, meeting strangers from the internet is the reason why they are dead. It's their fault, according to Adams. And he's even casting aspersions on the other victims who are alive in the Matara case, in what's her name, Starlet Wahu, Kanyari's sister's death. There were some other ladies who got away from that perpetrator, Mr. Matara. They got away. They had all these stab wounds and what have you. And he's even casting aspersions. He's claiming maybe they're lying. So he's believing Matara more than he's giving Matara, the killer, the benefit of the doubt over these other witnesses. Well, I will comment as we proceed. Next is Morioki, then Deve, then Luchebeleli, in that order.
Thanks, Rokas. I think today what I'm learning here, I think femicide is very rare. Femicide. These things are just happening. For me, it's just bad luck. Like now, Jack the Ripper, that's pure femicide. This Jack the Ripper, that's no doubt about it. That's femicide. But these other cases, it's not because they are women. It's just bad luck. Like you're saying, there's a fight, then somebody gets killed. Not because they are women. It's just bad luck. Even Saudi Arabia, and that's why I like this black movements, liberation movement. Because Saudi Arabia, I hear they are racist. At times, some of them hate black people. So they'll mistreat people who have Afro descent because of we are black. So this killing in Saudi Arabia has some racism. There's an aspect of racism in it also. Then again, when somebody dies, I think blaming shouldn't come in. If you survive the attack, now you can blame them. So next time they are careful. But once somebody dies, this blaming shouldn't be there. Then
Well, so Morioki is qualifying his victim blaming. He's like, we can victim blame when the victim is alive. let's not victim blame when the victim is there. Which is actually worse because they are there to witness their demonization.
Yeah, they learn. Doctors, they learn. Next time they'll be careful. If they survive, next time you'll be careful. That's what I mean. Careful next time. But if you die, don't blame. If you're alive next time, take care. That's what I mean.
Oh dear, you people, I can't believe you're saying this. And then what's more, Muriuki disagrees with the idea that the Qatar cases are not femicide. He believes that only Jack the Ripper, that kind of serial killing, that's the only one that qualifies as femicide. I think I disagree with you, but as we said, this term is gray. It's relatively new, and it is up for debate. So that's your perspective, but my perspective, I disagree with you on that. I think if they fulfill those other criteria, if there's a history of violence, if there's trafficking. So in the Saudi case, if there's trafficking, the person's passport has been confiscated, they can't leave that premises, and they are attacked because they're a woman. You ask yourself, if this was a man, would that employer be behaving that way? I doubt it, because there's that assumption that the woman is weak, that I can mistreat her and get away with it as a male employer. And because it has also that element of being trapped in that country, I think it qualifies as femicide when the person eventually dies. Because there's a pattern. If we just narrow it to only the serial killing cases, then I think there's actually no femicide whatsoever that has happened in the recent past. Because those cases, the serial killers are very rare in most societies. Serial killers who profile only women or who profile a certain category of people, I think they're very rare. But the rest, I think it falls. I adopt the broader definition of femicide. If there's a gender-related motivation somewhere, I think it should qualify. So next is Deve.
Thanks, Dorcas. Now, it is very, very easy for us to see clearly in hindsight after the fact. So then people will come and say, oh, she should have done this, or she should have been there, or she should have done. No, that is in hindsight. You're talking in hindsight. This is where, and then also when in hindsight, it's very easy to victim blame. But at the same time you are victim blaming, the police haven't even done a thorough investigation. I have seen some crime scenes in Kenya with the people, crowds of people around the place. How are you going to do an investigation when everybody is there littering the place and complicating the case for Kenyan police who maybe don't have the time or wherewithal or the wish to be thorough? Because when an investigation is not thorough, you don't know who is getting away with what, how many times. You could be having some of these crimes might be being committed by the same person for the same reason. We have not even counted on organ trafficking, and we do not even, if you cannot relate things, you cannot know what is happening if it is the same person or the same persons for the same reasons. So when we are looking in hindsight, let us be careful, and let me also blame the police, because they completely fail in their investigation. That is the work that they should know better than we all, but they fail absolutely. And so before you blame the victim, I am going to tell you that in our day, all the people, we jumped into cars for a ride, for a lift to town. When you've been waiting for your bus and you've been waiting for your bus and you stop somebody, they give you a ride, you go to town, you might exchange numbers, you might see them, you might never see them again. So while you are victim blaming, just think how many times your mother could have been killed. so let's not victim blame, because unfortunately you could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Now, I'm not saying that, well, you dated and did not take whatever precautions, but there could be other times you're just innocently standing on a bus stop, and some people come in and they grab you and they put you in a van. You have no chance. If you are a woman, you have no chance. If you are a man, they'll think twice, because they know you are going to fight back. So yeah, well, thank you.
Aha. Hindsight is 2020. We always have all these wonderful theories of how someone shouldn't do this and do that. But if we were in that shoe, who knows what would have happened. Next is Luchaveleli.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. Actually, I'm about to react to Adam's sentiment. While he started well, I was actually agreeing with how he started. When he was saying that, if you all start victim blaming, we can't really do anything. It's not helping anyone. But I was shocked that he resorted to that same victim blaming that he was actually trying to avoid while he started. And yes, I would very much agree with Ndeve that hindsight doesn't help with anything, and it's very easy to victim blame. And I also got something where he said that that it's easy to manipulate women. You're only saying that because you're a man. And when you come to realize that we also have serial killers who are women and who actively target men, you will try and get their perspective and see how easy it is for them to get victims as well, male victims. And it has happened severally throughout history. And also we had someone like Jeffrey Dahmer. He used to target men, and it was just as easy as targeting any other woman or a person. We tend to forget that in a society we have deviants, and these deviants are people who do shocking things, people who don't conform to the norms of society. For example, we can have Jack the Ripper again right now, who in his own twisted mind, in his own warped mind, is actively targeting women. And we forget the fact that such an individual is not a normal person. So it's easy for us to generalize, number one. Number two, it's easy for us to victim blame and say that it's the lady's fault that she made herself vulnerable. We forget that some of these individuals actively prey on their victims. They actively stalk them. It's very easy from their perspective to get a victim. So when we stop thinking about all that and then we start to victim blame, like, it's your fault because you walk out in the evening. It's your fault because you're a lady. It's your fault because the way you're dressing. We are not really helping anything or anyone. And if anything, all of us, we can say that we won't talk at night, but it doesn't really rid society of such rotten individuals. They will still exist in society, the way they work, because they actively target their victims. So, for instance, the thing that happened to the late Waini, I actually heard what Adam said, and I was actually shocked. And if I will say that if I was related to Waini, I would even become angry or bitter about it, because it's like we are resorting to victim blaming. We are losing our humanity at all. It's like we are not even sorry of the unfortunate circumstances that happened to her or whatever happened. We forget that probably the villain himself was actively praying, or he has his own tactics. So when we start to victim blame the late Waini, we forget that number one, she most probably never dealt with a normal person to begin with. So why don't you think about that first? think about all other possibilities before you go back to the victim and then say, it's the victim's fault because she made herself vulnerable. You should be critical about it. Critical thinking matters a lot. So that's all I can say. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eugene. I think I hold similar sentiments. Before we go to the final aspect, which is solutions, I have my position on victim blaming. I kept hearing this sentence over and over again in those YouTube comments. People were saying, women, stop whoring yourselves. Stop being greedy. Don't go selling yourselves. Don't go cheapening yourselves. Be content with what you have. Women, nothing is for free. You need to work for a living. And that was evident in the Airbnb cases because some of these people, like Starlet Wahoo, Kanyari's sister, it was presumed that she was a socialite. And in Kenya, a socialite is a code word for a sex worker, because maybe sometimes they have OnlyFans, or they see people, they see people, they get paid for giving somebody a good time. Yeah. And so people were blaming them for it. And I can't believe how blind these men are. Even women, there are some women who blame those victims. I can't believe how blind they are to the issue. The issue at hand is that there's a perpetrator who has killed another human being. That's the bad guy. That's the guy we should blame. Whoring yourself, prostituting yourself is not a recipe to be killed. A prostitute is not a social evil. That is a relic of religion, people. They're the ones who think it's a sin. A prostitute is doing, is offering a service to a willing buyer. The reason why it is called the oldest profession is because there have been men from time immemorial who buy their services. There's nothing wrong with prostitution, people. It is not a recipe. It's not a red card for you to be killed. It doesn't justify your death. We are pointing the accusatory finger at the wrong person. The wrong person is that killer and the systems that have allowed this killer to run amok. Our security systems, the laxity, even with Airbnbs themselves, they could have been very laxed when it comes to security checks. There are all these other things, even among investigators, police, because these serial killers, some of them, like Matara, are confident in the ineptitude of our police. They're like, we will get away with it, so I'll do it again and again and again. I'll keep luring women from online dating sites. So that aspect of equating prostitution to being a card for you to be killed is erroneous. Like, how? How can you? Taking someone's life is the worst thing you can do. And it's simply because she's a prostitute. And sometimes it's even very indirect in that, yeah, she's a socialite, maybe you sent her fare or you bought her lunch. And now that is called it's still called sex work. Because you bought her lunch, you sent her fare, you paid for her Uber. Now you are entitled to her body. So if she refuses, you should kill her. What? No, that's crazy. Hell no, it can't be right. Then even that case of Rita Waeni, the 21-year-old who met her killer on Instagram and went to an Airbnb. Rita was naive. She perhaps didn't know better. She didn't know these rules. Maybe somebody didn't talk to her. So just because she was naive, that doesn't justify her death, her murder. It's those guys that are the villains. We must never forget it. We must never forget it. We must always concentrate on who the wrongdoer, the perpetrator is. That's what I have to say on victim blaming. So let's proceed to solutions. But before we do, I see so many hands are up. I think the first one was Adams, and then Eugene, Luchaveleli, and then Morioki, in that order. And Estonia, please remember to mute. You are unmuted.
All right. Respectfully, I'm not supporting the so-called those people, the serial killers and all that. In fact, when I watched Jeffrey Dahmer's TV series, I used to be like, oh my! I used to get so mad because I used to see like everyone he's preying on is going to face his death, right? So I'm not supporting these people. But what I'm trying to call out that most Kenyans are still, it's still not on people's head, is that there are some facts that people does not want to hear, all right? Those are things that should be called out. And that's why now we have some activists, I don't know, the ones that were just tear gas, I don't know, 3 days ago or 4, I don't know, 1 week ago. Now they are taking that as an opportunity now, right? I don't know, stop killing women. Yes, stop killing women, correct. But why are these women killed? Is there a way that we can avoid this killing of these women? First of them is education and awareness. Do not meet strangers. That's the first thing, right? And someone like an age like that of Rita Waini, it is an age that I'm sure I grew up knowing that there's something called awareness of meeting unknown people. Okay. Now another thing, Luchavileli talked about also that there are also women who also prey on men. Well, they are, but again, okay. In these social platforms, we have people who tend to lure people with techniques, and those are things that we call preying. They prey with people. You find someone is just trying to catch an attention of somebody, all right? And when they get that, that's when they get that chance of killing that person. But now, why are these people always killed? The question should be, why are they always killed? Why should, yes, stop killing women, but then why are these people get killed? Right? What does a university student going to do in an Airbnb with a stranger? That's a fact that people does not want to know, to hear. What's a second-year university going to do with a stranger in an Airbnb in, I don't know, in Kilimani or where? Okay? So if we don't call these things out, then it seems that more killings is going to happen, because the case of Rita Waini was, I don't know, 1 year ago. Look this year, how many have we had? How many deaths have we had? It means that people are still naive. So we're going to say people are naive. So we let people be naive and get killed. And so we blame them that, oh, they were naive, so please let's not kill them. Okay? Because there's a mental issue with people, especially now with serial killers. Of course, they are out there praying for people. And they're the same people who kill these people. Some of them have mental issues. Okay? But you, because I don't know, you've seen, I don't know, an apartment, someone has called you, I don't know what. You even leave university compound running in Kilimani, all right, going and meeting a stranger. It's so funny. It's very funny, in fact, right? Very funny. So for me, we're just going to call things the way I'm going just to call things the way they are. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. Thank you.
There goes Adams doubling down on his victim blaming. It's like when a rape victim goes to the police and the police ask her, what were you wearing? What were you doing leaving your house at that point? Instead of looking for the bad guy. Adams, you're insufferable. Anyway, next is Morioki. Oh, wait, it was Luchaveleli, then Morioki, then Estonio. Yes, Luchaveleli.
I have a question for Adams. Adams, I have a totally related, but it might seem unrelated. Do you think that abstinence really works when it comes to, you know, trying to control the STD rates? Do you think abstinence works? When the church or when our parents tell us that, you know, you should not be having sex, you should wait until marriage. Do you think it works? Alternatively, I might ask you, do you think when you tell 20-year-olds who are obviously adults, who are above 18, that you should not be meeting strangers, do you think it will work alternatively? And I will be really shocked if you seriously believe that it will work, because I'm not convinced your method will work. That's why I'm telling you that, you know, alternatively, if we want to control STDs, we don't rely on telling the kids that you should stay away from sex. No, if anything, we should just make sex safer for them. So when it comes to, you know, why the women are getting killed, you know, the problem is not that because they are walking out at night. The problem is not that because they are meeting strangers. The problem is that we are seriously overlooking the various factors that lead to such an event. Whether it's mental diseases, we are not taking it seriously. We are not having the talk out there. People to get cancelled and all that, probably they have underlying issues. If it's the culture, we have the culture of misogyny, you know, just like I think it was Azrael who was saying that, you know, for some people they think that they are strong. So with that delusion of strength, they end up being violent, hitting women all over the place. And some of them might actually end up killing women. You know, we have very many factors as to why women are getting targeted or getting killed. So again, it will be wrong to try and say that we only have one reason, and that reason it's because they are walking out, they're meeting strangers. You know, we are actually exaggerating the reality of the situation here. Alternatively, also, instead of just, it's like you're not really thinking things straight. You're just reactionary. You're just reacting to the event. That's why you end up, you know, victim blaming or blaming things here and there. If you just take a moment and look at things critically, trust me, you will seriously see that you won't really achieve anything by telling adults that they shouldn't meet strangers. Because even you personally, how many strangers have you met? And do you think that you can't really meet a stranger tomorrow and you end up being on the news again? You know, it's not like you can actually predict these things. And that's also one scary thing about human behavior. It's very much unpredictable. It's random. You can't think things that they will act like this. They are one of the random things in the universe, apparently. So Adams, your methods, I really disagree with them. Yeah, thank you.
Can someone tell me why I should chat somebody in 1 week on an Instagram account and the next week I'm meeting him? Can someone answer me that? In an Airbnb, can someone answer me that?
Yeah, sure. I might as well ask you, are you saying that before we had the B&Bs, university students never used to meet each other or people who are outside and then they have a good time? Are you telling me that they never used to have a good time? Are you seriously believing that the problem is the fact that you're having B&B? Because you're exactly doing the thing that I'm trying to point it out. You know, because you're just acting on reactions, you end up blaming things here and there. Like right now, you're blaming the B&B. But if you just take a moment and just reason things out, you will see that BNB is not even the problem. These guys will end up hunting the women with or without the BNBs. See, they have bed sitters. See, they have any other place. You want to tell me if someone is that psychotic, he won't commit a murder anywhere else apart from the BNB? So did the murder happen because we had the BNB or because we had someone who is seriously twisted out there?
I would also want to respond to Adam.
If you just take a movement, Adams, yeah.
I would also want to respond to
Go
Adam.
ahead, Anthony.
Do you mean for those prostitutes who are doing their work at town, they must meet those people, they meet them on daily basis a week ago or a month ago?
All right. The prostitutes we're talking about. A lady cannot just come from Western province and go to stand in the streets of Koinange streets to be a prostitute. It can never happen. Those people have welfare, and actually they've been fighting for recognition. I don't know if they were recognized by the government. In US also, they are those, I don't know if they were recognized because they were fighting for their rights. So there's no way a lady from Western can just panda a bus, come to Nairobi, the next day she's at Koinange Street. Never happens that way. Those people knows each other.
I think you have not understood my question. A lady who is always in Koinange Street, does it mean the men they meet there, they know them before?
Of course, they don't know them. But the fact remains.
Don't you think they can also be victims of femicide?
Yeah, they can be.
Okay.
Exactly. Anthony, you've made the point, you've driven the point home. If a prostitute's job is to meet strangers, literally, that's what she does. She meets strangers sexually, then obviously she would be vulnerable. And as I said, a prostitute is not doing anything wrong. She's offering a service to a willing buyer and a willing seller. So that hypothesis doesn't apply. And I also have to add the other hypothesis, or rather the other explanation. As I said, 75% of all femicide cases are committed by former partners or current partners.
Precisely.
Yes, former or current, it's not a stranger. Those high-profile cases of Akina Rita Waeni and Ivy Wangeshi, those not Ivy Wangeshi, Ivy Wangeshi was a friend, Kanyari's sister, Starlet Wahu. Those high-profile cases are not the norm. Most femicide cases, 75%, are committed by somebody the victim knew. So it isn't even a practical solution. But thank you, Anthony, for that. Next is Muriuki, then Eston.
Thanks, Dorcas. I want to repeat again. I think when somebody dies, no blaming, please. When you die, just forget blaming. Once they are gone, that blame is very bad. But I repeat, if they survive, blame them so that next time they are more careful. That's my point. Then, Dorcas, let's be honest, Dorcas, you give me a contact of people who deal with a prostitute. You give me a contact. Now I deal with them. For the last 2 years, I've been dealing with prostitutes. It's not a good job. Let's be honest. Selling sex, you can't grow up saying that my career is selling sex. That's a bad job. In fact, they want out. I deal with them. They want out. It's not a good job to sell your body to a man for what a career. It's not a good job. So it's a job that's best avoided. And that's why they are vulnerable. But it's not a good job. Then again, like Adam said, don't be alone with a partner. You don't know, especially at night. Don't meet a stranger and be with them at night in a room and you don't know them. That's the danger thing.
Morioki and Adams, you suffer from the puritanical approach, which is not realistic. Don't be alone in a room with a stranger. not with a stranger or with a woman, a person from the opposite sex. Prostitutes are doing a bad thing. It's a bad job. Morioki, let me tell you something. The reason why it is the oldest profession in the world is because of the demand. It is there. It is, and the reason why it seems to be a bad job, the reason why they want out is because of attitudes like yours. People have this backward attitude where they are blaming the prostitute, but they're not blaming the person buying her services. There's that double standard where they demonize the prostitute, but they don't demonize the person that purchases the service from her. It is a willing seller, willing buyer scenario. The reason why things are very difficult for them is because of attitudes like yours.
Morioki. Dorcas, yeah. Anthony.
Let me ask you.
Yes, Anthony, go ahead.
Let me ask you, Morioki, if being a prostitute is being vulnerable, what about being a pilot? Are you not vulnerable to fall?
How do you compare sex and being a pilot, Anthony? How do you compare the sex and a pilot? How do you compare those two?
They're all looking for bread.
But one is more.
One is more what?
Selling sex
one is more
and being a pilot. Selling sex and being a pilot. How do you compare those? Let's be serious. Serious, please.
No, somebody is selling
like
a service.
Anyway.
Yeah, you don't like sex. Now you expect the whole world to live like you do. It's not realistic. You people need to get off your high horse. Your land called utopia. You need to get out of there. It's inevitable. Sex is a basic need. So for you, maybe you can do without it, but for others,
Okay, Doctor, one question. If you have a child, you say, I want you to be a prostitute when you grow up. If you have a daughter, you say, my girl, when you grow up, I want you to be a prostitute. Can you say that? Or a pilot? Would you say, I want you to be a prostitute as a career?
That's besides the point.
No, it's a fair question. No, it's a fair question.
That's besides the point, because my opinion is not representative of whether these people deserved to be killed or not.
They shouldn't be killed.
My opinion, yes. So that's the bottom line. It doesn't matter what your opinion is on the work they do. They shouldn't be killed. That's the bottom line. Hizi stories zingine unaleta, they are neither here nor there. They are irrelevant to the discussion. At the end of the day, they should not be killed.
Again,
so we should do things. We should do things to stop their killing.
And stop
our
the job
security system and all the other solutions we are going to look at should be set up so that they are not killed. Instead of you blaming them and saying, oh, they should be killed. It's okay for them to be killed because they are selling sex. That's irrelevant.
I didn't say that. I didn't say it's okay to be killed. I didn't say that, Doctors. It's okay to be killed. I said it's a bad. It's not a good job.
You said it's okay to blame victims. As long as they get away, as long as they don't die, it's okay to blame victims.
Yes, so next time they learn. Yeah, so they learn.
Come on.
They learn. It's a lesson.
No.
But if they die, so they learn.
No. There, you are wrong. I really disagree with you on that. Blaming never gets us anywhere. Estonia, go ahead.
Okay, I hope I'm audible. Okay. I won't dwell much on whatever they have said. For me, I want to just say the reasons why people victim blame. The first thing is about, when a man, maybe you had a relationship with a woman and maybe she broke your heart or she did something bad from you, so you lose that trust on the other gender. So even if these cases happen, these femicide cases happen, you just say no, that woman, there was something wrong with that, because you since a woman had maybe broke a heart or did something to you, you start seeing there's no this woman there is a reason why this woman there's a reason why this woman was killed. It was her fault. Secondly, maybe some men they can in their hearts or in their mind that in their mind the reason that there's no way I can decide to do something to a woman if she has not triggered me. That is, in their own minds themselves, they think that for me, I cannot do anything to a woman unless she triggers me. So that that is what is in their minds. They just reason that even that is the same thing that it is to all other men. So they generalize that since me, I cannot do anything to a woman unless she triggers me. It is the same to all other men. They don't see that what other men can do also, but now can do also to trigger a woman. But now a woman, because she's vulnerable, of course, there is nothing that she can do. But then even if she tries, the man can end her life or do even worse. Those are then the another reason is the religious naivety. Okay, like you can say naivety of people. Not even if it's not only men who victim blame, even the women. Some women victim blame. Like this week, I shared a video on a group where this week when after the Femicide protests happened, there was this Gen Z preacher. I don't know, she's called Chris who Njenga, Veronica Njenga, where she was saying those protests won't help. Yes, she was saying what those protests won't help. If that woman she accept Jesus, she would not be going to Airbnb. She will be worshiping. She'd be in Acacia instead of going to Airbnb. Those religious naivety. They think if someone was born again in Christ, that thing cannot happen to her. So since you think that me, because I worship Jesus, there's nothing that can happen to me, you think it's those religious naivety. And also I also saw some ladies also who are blaming the victim, saying that now saying that the women they just go and enda utafute kazi, achana na wanaume, achana pesa wanaume ndo utafute kazi. That those naivety. They think that since yeye amepata kazi, it is easy for others to get that same job. So naivety, and also these men who they don't want to put themselves on the woman's shoe. They only they generalize the situation to their own men, or they generalize since a man has broken a woman has broken her heart, then they say no, it is always the woman who is wrong. So those are some of the reasons why these people they victim blame.
Indeed, there's such a sense of entitlement from these people. They can be men or women. Now, let us finalize. Let's go to the solutions. How can we solve the problem of women being killed because of their gender? How can we solve femicide? How can we reduce those cases? Maybe we might not eliminate them completely, but at least we can reduce them. Given the causes, in order to solve a problem, you need to understand its root cause. So given those causes that we highlighted previously, how can we solve the problem? Yes, Borioki, go ahead.
Yeah, fine. Just be careful of strangers. Number one, be careful of who you meet online or anywhere. Be careful of strangers and where you be. That stranger, where are you alone with them somewhere? Or take your stranger, and then never aspire to be a commercial sex worker. Then
There he goes with his anti-prostitution rhetoric. Okay, that is Muriuki's take. Next is Anthony M. And then Deve, Eugene, and Estonio in that order.
I think for me, I would say we observe mental cases because I believe someone who is killing another one as a form of femicide is much of mental related issue, which can be detected very early and should be mitigated. Actually, we should have more counseling in couples and maybe because we are saying more than 75% is not from strangers. So this is person that you have detected as a mental issue, as an issue, as a temper kind of. This is a person, even about the issue of the Sister Kanyari, this is a person maybe other people had detected and could be able to alert the alarm. So because I believe someone who is doing that is not okay. I think dealing with mental issues should be the first priority to mitigate most of them. That's my take.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. Mental health, we need to prioritize that. The next one was Deve.
Yes, Muriuki, did you listen to the statistics? They are not, most of the women are not being killed by strangers, period. They are not strangers. So let us start from where the problem is. So I would say, number one, let us regularize counseling or problem solving in marriage and in marriages and relationships. Number one, let us just regularize that. Let that be a common thing. Because I don't think growing up in the village, I don't think it was regularized. It was between two people and that's it. Or maybe sometimes, the grandma or the mother of the girl or the mother of the guy might be involved sometime. But it was not. In my opinion, it is just used to be you and your spouse, munang'ang'ana nayo, make all the mistakes and, let the chips fall where they may, and they probably fall the wrong place. The other thing that has to be regularized in Africa is divorce. Because if we regularize divorce, even the girlfriends and the boyfriends breaking up will look normal. But we have not regularized divorce. People should be able to go their way and, and be, go wherever you go and go find somebody else. But it is not regularized. Women who divorce, they get the brunt, the hard end of the stick. Well, women, we always get the hard end of the stick all the time. Oh, you are divorced. Oh, even in Kikamba, we even have a name, and it is not a very good name. Oh, it is. Oh, I'm not marrying that. That one who went back to their home. But the man doesn't have a bad name. He can go and marry again without getting a bad name. So if we regularize, and it is the problem of religion, particularly Christianity, because in Islam, you can divorce, you can easily divorce and go marry again. Even women, I understand that although there is a little bit of a problem with Islam, there is also a problem with the divorce in Islam. I had forgotten that the most important thing in Islam is that divorce is problematic. So if we regularize divorce, then women can be able to walk away. And also women should. The first time somebody threatens to beat you or beats you, that ought to be the last time you walk away. Doesn't matter. You are walking away from millions and you're going to go back to your poor family. Think about that. Hey, if he's going to beat you and he's going to kill you, they are not your millions. They are his millions and he's going to kill you and enjoy them with somebody else, or maybe not enjoy them, be in jail. So I think we need to regularize those things, that violence of any kind, manenos, and threatening, makofi anarudia tu hapa from your nose. The next time, it is not going to go back from your nose. It's going to land on your face. So you know what? We should regularize that. Your brother or your sister. And yes, our brothers do face violence. Unfortunately, I don't say I'm sorry. In my family, I know that people who face violence, but they have never mentioned it. They are going to pretend it doesn't happen. I can't do anything if they have not to say such a thing happens. Maybe they know I can't do anything. But I don't like that. I don't like my brothers or my sisters to be facing any violence, and we should not regularize that. We should arrest that. Thank you.
Very well said. You went to the heart of the problem, which is intimate partner violence. Domestic violence is at the root of most femicide cases. So if we can tackle the problems in those relationships, then it will definitely give us a head start on the problem. Thank you so much, Debe. Next is Lucheveleli.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dorcas. What I'd like to say about this femicide thing, I think it's yes, it's a huge societal issue at large, and everyone is involved. As long as you're an adult or getting there, everyone is involved, and everyone must be part of the dialogue that we're having right now. If we are trying to talk about what's happening and all not, and what really should be put in order. This is also the same thing when we talk about deviants. They play one important role in society. They make society come together. It increases cohesiveness. But it gets weird when you are trying to deal with the femicide issue, and that's when we start to have blame games. It's weird. The psychopaths are winning, the serial killers are winning, because it's while you're in confusion, you are all alone. It's easy for them to pick you one by one. But you can imagine if you are a cohesive society, if you're all working together to get rid of these rotten individuals, these broken individuals among us. It will be better, it will be easy, because we will be working together, irrespective if you're a lady, if I'm a man, and all that. It wouldn't really matter. We are just trying to make society work for all of us. But we shouldn't be having time for any blame games, because it doesn't really help anyone. Yeah, so that's all I'd like to say. And also about the issue, someone even talked about that money is usually involved. Not really. Personally, I've also witnessed one in which money wasn't involved, and I can also cite several that have happened and money wasn't really involved. It's just because someone is hungry. Someone is very much has much anger, and then they do the unthinkable, then doable. Money has nothing to do with that. If anything, money is just a by the way. Because when someone wants to kill you, whether or not it's the money, that's an issue. He will kill you. So yeah, a murderer is always a murderer. So they can lie that it's all about the money, but no, it's not about the money. It's because that's a very messed up individual. Yeah, so that's what I'd like to say.
Yes. The situation is more complex than what some common victim blaming narratives try to portray it as. Next is Estonia.
Okay, so for me, I don't have the total solution, but maybe I don't know if you think about my solutions. The solution should come with how we raise our children, how the parents raise their children. I think the solution, one of the solutions, can come from there. Maybe the parents, they raise their children to be respectful human beings and law abiding, but just the parents raise, not teach their children, raise their children in a way that maybe they make their children to respect their fellow, their other genders. But now, the way the parents raise the children these days is like they just teach they make some of their children, like they make them like what is this thing called honey. They don't teach these children that sometimes you might not always get whatever you want. But now there's some parents that are raising their children like they make their children always get whatever they want. And now when these children grow up, when you ask for a woman out and she rejects you, it's like you want to do something bad, or like you've seen this when you some of these cases of about those exes who they come back to kill their former lovers. Is maybe because when they are being raised, they aren't taught that you might not always get whatever everything you want. So the way the parents raise their kids, that's one of the solutions can come from there. And also some there is a post I saw, and this post by it came from a lady who posted. I don't know, there are some single mothers who when they've separated their father, they make this child disrespect their father or start hating on their father. And then this woman saying you teach your child, make your child disrespect their father, and you expect this child, when he grows up, you expect him to respect women when this child grows up. I think just if we raise if the children are raised well to respect every gender, whether it is the man or the woman, I think that can be one of the solutions, not totally, but part of the solutions.
Well said. Thank you, Estonio. Next is Adams.
All right. I like the points El Maestro has put on. Okay. Actually, I like them. Now, this topic being that it's something new, I had again to go back to AI, to ask AI again. So then, all right, women are getting killed. So because of this and this and this, then how then can we solve, how can we mitigate such, all right? And the thing I've been singing, one was digital literacy and awareness, all right? So we have to educate on online safety. This is something I've been singing here. Teach women how to identify red flags, such as strangers who avoid sharing personal details, use of fake profiles, or pressure for in-person meeting too quickly. I think I've been saying that since the start of this meeting. Yeah, that's a fact that I don't think, if followed, we can be having these cases every time on TV. Another thing is safety online practices. Promote habits like avoiding sharing personal details, addresses with strangers, and meeting in public spaces. All right, if meetings are necessary. Meeting in public places if meetings are necessary. I think those are things I've been singing all along here. Now, another point that ChatGPT has given me again is safer meeting practices. All right, meet in public space, have an emergency plans in case of anything happens. All right, you can go meet somebody, yes, but then when something happens, at least you can always have that small minutes of you raising an alarm somewhere for such things to be solved. Okay, yeah, so those are my points. On the issue about what Eston has said about we need to raise kids in a way that they know what like they should be knowing what they should be doing at one point of life. We don't want to raise kids who have been poisoned by either parents, because that is very common here in Kenya. It's a very common issue here in Kenya. Some parents poison their own kids towards either one of the parents, either the father or the mother. Okay, and those are some of the issues. A kid grows up hating people, and it's even a character traits even in with serial killers. It's always starts from somewhere. It always starts from somewhere, especially at the younger stage. Depends with how you find a father used to be very, very harsh on their kids, beating kids, putting them on dungeons and all that. The case like for Jeffrey Dahmer, not that he was born on the first day when he was a serial killer. No, he was not. Okay. It is most of the blames went to his father and his careless mother. Okay. Yeah. So those are the things. I think those are the 2 points. Though it has given me a lot of them, but I'll just point those 2. Thank you.
Okay. Digital literacy. Yes, I agree. Digital literacy is crucial. Next is Stephen.
Okay, thank you, Dorcas. So I think when we started this topic, you mentioned that 75 up to as high as 75% of femicide cases come about due to as a result of intimate partner violence. So maybe for me, my solutions or what I think can be solutions will revolve around marriage and relationships. So, but even before I talk about what I think could be solutions, I wonder for countries that have embraced divorce, does it mean that the femicide cases are lower than in countries where divorce is not embraced as such? That is one thing I would like to know. And the other thing, in an ideal, maybe in an alternate universe or in an alternate earth, maybe what Morioki stands for would be like a solution to to our femicide problem, yeah, because no sex, no relationships with the opposite gender, then at least those 75%, we would now be left with only 15% cases of femicide to think about. But we know that we are in this world, and this is the real world that we are in. We can't do without relationships, and we can't go ahead and tell people not to engage in intimate relationships. So we need to think about solutions. So for me, I would say people should embrace and take courtship and dating seriously. People should actually, I think it would help if people would lay down what they consider as red flags in a relationship when they're dating, so that when now they get into the actual deal, that is a marriage, at least having having noted down or having discussed about these red flags or what would be deemed as red flags that would warrant divorce or separation, at least people would be much aware about it, and at the back of their mind, even as they relate, one would be very keen to point out if such a red flag arose. And then the other thing would be another solution would be having very good family support. By this I mean parents supporting their children even as they get into marriages and relationships. When this is the case, at least one won't suffer in a marriage just because they don't have anywhere else to go. And in this case, I'm talking about women and associating with the culture we have here in Kenya, whereby the woman is the one who leaves their home and gets married to the man and their family. So at least when there's good family support, even the lady, if they are abused in a marriage, at least they would still know that they have somewhere they call home and they are always welcome. So if parents, the dads and the moms would support their daughters and encourage them not to suffer in marriages in the name of trying to keep their home, that would be something else that would bring or yield a solution, because they can always leave the marriage if it's toxic and go back to where they are welcomed and feel they can call home. So I think that is also something else as a solution. And then the other thing would be, I think this had already been discussed, counseling. I think it's Ndeve who talked about counseling. I think people downside counseling, but I think it's very important. I don't think we've embraced it so much here in Kenya, but I think it's something that would really help and act as a solution before it's even too late. So counseling, and when I talk about counseling, I would really discourage the type of counseling that is associated with religions. That is pastors doing the counseling. Actually, religion is also another problem when it comes to these cases, because most religious leaders encourage that ndoa ni kuvumilia, pray for your partner, they will get better, you see. So religion is also another problem. So when you talk about counseling, pastors shouldn't be counselors. I don't think that is something I would recommend. So there should be a clear separation between pastoral duties and counseling duties for those who must remain in religion. But if we would scrap religion altogether, that would also help a lot. Yeah, so I think those are what I would call my solutions. Yeah, thank you.
Wow, such concrete ideas that you've shared with us. And I also like them because they got to the root of the problem, which is intimate partner violence, people who've had such a history. Let me add mine and then we can call it a night. I think we mustn't downplay the role of security agencies, the police, in this respect. I think they should be sensitive to intimate partner violence, because there are people who report those cases, but the police dismiss it as it being an internal matter. That's a domestic matter. You people deal with it. And sometimes that can be between husband and wife, but it could also be between people who are seeing each other, people who are dating. I think the police do not do enough, despite the fact that there's a gender desk that was introduced in the police force, the National Police Service. It doesn't do much for us these days. I remember there was a lady, one of the other witnesses in the Matara case, Matara was the serial killer that took Starlet Wahu's life, Kanyari's sister. And when the lady saw Matara on TV, she was shocked, and that's why she went to the media to share her story. And several other women also came and shared their story. So this particular lady said that she had reported the matter to the police. She had stabbings. The guy already stabbed her, but she got away, and he took her money as well. But she got away. When she reported the matter to the police were like, yes, we'll deal with him. They never did. Despite the fact that she even had she had an M-Pesa transaction showing his name, John Matara. But the police never did anything. And this is not uncommon. This is prevalent in many of these gender-based violence cases. It's been shown that it takes 1,900 days to sentence these individuals who commit femicide. So we need to expedite the process. We need to send the message to potential femicide perpetrators that they will get caught and they will be punished. That will serve as a deterrent. But as per now, the police is very complacent. They had warning signs in that case of Starlet Wahu. Perhaps she wouldn't have died if they had acted on the report from the other women that came forward. They dismissed it partly because they said it's an internal matter, if it's boyfriend or girlfriend, or if it is that one of meeting in an Airbnb, they tell you, you are a sex worker, that's your problem. They write you off. And as I said, no one deserves to be killed. Whether you're a sex worker, whether you ulikula fare, no one deserves to be killed. And the worst people who can say that are the police, who are supposed to be protecting us. So that's solution number one I would comment on. Number two, I think we need to redefine gender roles and norms which normalize violence against women. There's that sense of entitlement which comes when, one, your partner is unfaithful to you. There are people who think, she cheated, so she deserves to be killed, or she deserves to be attacked and assaulted. Hell no. No one deserves violence or death. No one. Even a serial cheat. Even if your wife is a cheat, even if you caught her in the act, that will not justify you killing her. We need to challenge that perspective. The other norm which they use as a justification is when somebody eats your money. If you give her gifts. In fact, this is the reason why personally when I'm dating, I hate gifts. I hate gifts because I feel like it is a form of blackmail. Now that this guy has given me a gift, he expects me to play along. If I don't play along, he'll be entitled to me. So personally, I don't like gifts. I don't. Let's just get to know each other. Let's like each other mutually. Usilete hapo mambo za pesa na gifts na nini. But there's that mentality that if you spend money on a woman, if you paid for dates, if you've done this and that now she's supposed to play along, she's supposed to like you, love you back, or she's supposed to have sex with you. And that's not the case. She has a right of refusal. That's not an express ticket to her death. This is crazy. I heard that story of Elias, the Nakuru pastor, who stabbed, I think her name was Wairimo or something, and he cut off her fingers. And people were now justifying it by saying she was having an affair with the watchman. How is that okay? Actually, because somebody cheated, now you can assault her and maim her fingers. It's ridiculous. We need to challenge those gender norms. No one owns anybody's body, even if you spent money on an individual. No one, no one. Third, I would also echo Sir Adam's sentiments on digital literacy. And I think it is pointless to try and say, don't do online dating. Everything is going online. If people want a taxi, they go online. If people want to meet friends, they go online. If people want to watch movies, everything has gone online. Even dating has to go online, right? You have to meet you before you start dating. You have to meet a stranger. It's inevitable. We start off as strangers before we become friends. It's inevitable for us to use online dating. But I do concede that we can take precautions. Personally, I have tried online dating on and off since 2020. And I knew the number one rule is to never meet a person from an online dating site in his house. You never go to his house, or you never go to a motel, hotel, or in these cases, Airbnbs. But Airbnbs have become, they've earned such a bad reputation. I think people are so aware of that. But it can now go to their homes, these guys. And they always push for that. Ironically, you people are here talking theoretically. Me, I've been in the online world. Most men don't want to go on a date because they want to, quote unquote, save money. So they'll try and get you to go to their house. It's very common. I would say like 7 out of 10 guys that you meet online will try to get you to go home with them. Yeah. So as a lady, I can never do that. I don't do that. And I urge other people who go online to exercise that kind of caution. And yes, to exercise digital literacy, as Adams was saying, but I wouldn't take it as far as claiming that is now your fault, that if you get killed, it's your fault. No, it's the perpetrator that is always on the wrong. Lastly, I would also advocate for female independence, female economic independence. Part of the reason why some women stay in abusive marriages or come with stay arrangements is because they are depending on the man for sustenance. Even if he's abusing them, even if things are really bad, she will not leave because she doesn't have an alternative. So I would encourage ladies to sustain themselves, to become independent, so that when they are in a dangerous domestic situation, they can walk away. Oh yeah, lastly, I remember Stephen was asking whether in countries where divorce is normalized, whether that reduces the femicide cases. I don't have those numbers. I don't know the facts on the ground, but I would think it isn't the end of the story. It doesn't solve all the problems because, as we said, the femicide is caused by entitlement to women's bodies. So if your wife cheats on you, or if you've spent money on her and she rejects you, you can still go ahead and kill her. If you have those negative gender norms, if you're entitled, you have a sense of entitlement to women's bodies. So normalizing divorce would not solve those causes of femicide, but it would solve the causes where intimate partner violence is ongoing because the woman doesn't have an alternative. So yes, it would solve part of it, but not all of it. And that's the nature of all these solutions. They only tackle a few issues here and there, but when put together, they can tackle everything. So yeah, that's my take on how we can solve this problem. Morioki, your hand is up. Go ahead.
look at things. You just said what I always say about being alone. You just confirmed what I said about being alone with somebody. You just confirmed it. Thank
No, please do not associate me with you, Morioki. You always say, please do not misquote me. You always say, men and women should avoid being alone together, period. Me, I said,
no,
he's a
no.
stranger.
No,
Wait. Morioki, wait. On your WhatsApp group, on the WhatsApp group, you always say that your solution to unwanted pregnancies and all the other extra problems that come with it is for men and women to avoid being together, alone in a room. That's what you always say. And I don't endorse that idea because I'm always alone. I'm always alone with a man in a room if my intention is to have sex with him. And I have avoided pregnancy up until this point because, unlike you, I have no problem with using medical technology, contraceptives, to avoid getting pregnant because your problem is avoiding the unplanned pregnancies. So no, we are not together on that front. The only aspect where we are together is for strangers. If he's a stranger, do not meet him in a private place. He could be a serial killer. But if it's a guy I'm into, I've known him, maybe somebody is Anthony M. I've met him many times in the hangout. He's come for our video shoots. And then one day I decide I like Anthony so much. Let's go to his place. Or let him come to my place. There is no problem. We'll be alone together with the intention of going all the way. So hatuko pamoja hapo Muriuki. I see Antonio ameweka ameweka emoji ya kucelebrate. So anyway, guys,
I'm also, Doctor, I'm also thinking, apart from femicide, if solving gender-related issues, just staying alone, are you not going to get out of that house and meet ladies or meet men on the way? Are you not going to meet them in the office? Are you not going to meet them in the vehicle public matatu? Think Morioki yako reasoning yako hapana.
Morioki anataka tuishi kwa island.
Alone. I meant alone, Anthony. Alone, not in public. Alone is dangerous. Alone is dangerous always.
It's inevitable. Sometimes you can be in a house. You can be in a house. Maybe you have you don't live alone. Maybe you live with relatives. So your sister comes with her best friend, and then she goes to the backyard to take out the garbage, and you're left alone with her friend. Sometimes it's inevitable. You can't live such a puritanical life. Connie, you are so scared of yourself that you can't. No, I don't think that's the way to go. You and Adams are living in a utopia. Maybe if you had a lone island, that's when it would work. Yes, Devil's hand is up.
I just wanted to say this to Muriuki. When you meet somebody, even if you started at strangers, you start as strangers. Let's say Doris started with Anthony as strangers. At some point, you are not going to have a bodyguard. Like you can be in a hotel or in a restaurant and you have all the bodyguards around you. But at one point, you're going to be with this person without a bodyguard. I'm using a bodyguard because there was one person that told me, bring your bodyguard. I mean, you know what I mean. So sometimes you're going to be without your bodyguard. So, because that is the progression. That is the progression of a relationship. You're going to be in a group or among people, and then you are going to be just the two of you. Does that mean that you are going to slaughter a goat that day? No. In fact, the best time that are togetherness, and I'm teaching this to Muriuki, the best togetherness that I ever had was with somebody. We would be alone together almost every day for 6 months. And that was just the best time. I always look back and I think that this person is just this person is amazing. So what I'm just trying to tell you is, and with all other people that I've met, the best time we had was when we were just being together without doing anything, just saying that, hey, who are you? Oh, let's meet again tomorrow or next. Then we go, we check each other again, and you really are having a very good time. But Muriuki, do you even know that? Do you even want to know? You come back the other time, you have got this anticipation, and the anticipation is probably better than anything that you will ever. Sweet, you are just holding this kaperemende in your pocket, and you know utaikula, but you are holding it like an accountant. So don't always say, when you see two people, don't draw those conclusions, because they might just be holding out that kaperemende for a day that they are looking forward to. They're building up their tension and all that. So you are completely drawing wrong conclusions. Thank you.
All right. Yes, indeed. Muriuki, the day we will change your mind, I don't know. We will celebrate. But otherwise, I don't know if there's anybody with a closing remark, one last thing they would like to say. Okay. If not, then I think we can call it a night. I'd like to thank all the participants. Thank you, Eston. Thank you, Adams. Thank you, David. Thank you, Muriuki, Steven, Lucheveleli, and I think NJ said something kidogo, then yeah, he left. But all the participants in the discussion, thank you for your contribution. We know it was controversial theme. It's relatively new, but we are all here to learn anyway. Oh yes, and also thank you, Anthony M, for your contribution. So guys, let's meet tomorrow, which is technically today. Let's meet tomorrow at Myra. Let me not say it. It's on YouTube. Yeah. I forgot. Oh, okay. Yeah, we're meeting tomorrow. We are meeting tomorrow.
We are meeting to Koengi. We are meeting. We'll be safe. We are meeting.
Asanteni sana.
Mjienjoy sana. Mjienjoy kabisa.
Tunaweza kuwa na spy wa Sakano hapa.